afternoon, good morning, and good evening, wherever you are in the cosmos. AJ Dodgestar, Intergalactic Mercenary, at your service. And we're back, finally, with Storage from Soul the Gundog again. It's totally not been 3 weeks since we since it came out. Funny, because like, we played it on launch, or day after launch. Then the following week I wasn't able to stream it. I had hardly streams that week, I can't remember. And then last week I didn't stream it because I wasn't feeling great on the day I was planning to stream it. So yeah, I guess 3 weeks rather than 2. Oopsie. Chapter 4, yeah, February 21st. Yeah, that was definitely 3 weeks ago. Oopsie daisy. Alright, here we are. Let's try and remember what we're doing. Ah, yes, we're in the corridor. And, yeah. Make sure everything's working okay. Yeah. Got the captain's key ring. Collection of keys, presumably they've all got something to do with the ship systems. All I got to worry about is the one that opens her desk. We'll have to return these later. The access codes, the important access codes. We can reboot the computer. We've got our stun pistol. My key card, Cassandra's card. Sub-terminal opening doors. Right. Yeah, thoroughfare. Yeah, hopefully there's enough juice to shut the door. Outside the huge blast door that separates the aft thoroughfare from the engineering department, you begin the increasingly familiar process of unpacking the PST. Alright. I set up the PST. First, withdrawing the cable and plugging it into the terminal near the door. You boot up the device and begin cycling through the options. Okay, and then I think my keycard will work, right? Hit the enter key on the unlock option and turn your attention towards the partition that stands between you and the engineering department. Unlike the other doors, the PST's battery power had been used to open. This blast door is inches thick and comprised almost entirely of solid steel. You watch tentatively, as a low grinding sound emanates from the ceiling for about 10 seconds before the door even begins to move. Like the others, the opening process is agonizingly slow. In the darkness of the thoroughfare, time seems to lose all meaning as you walk the door almost imperceptibly work its way upwards. Upwards, looks like it opens left and right. After a few minutes, barely noticeable progress comes to a halt and the low grinding sound stops. The blast door giving you just over a foot of clearance between it and the floor. Again, this looks like it should open left and right with that there. But the dialogue saying it's going up. Interesting. That looks like it goes, like that's the latch. Like left door, right door. I guess it's, dialogue says it's going up and down. Turning your attention back towards the PST, you see a graphic of an empty battery with a cross through it, blinking on the screen. Oh no. How are we gonna... We could probably charge it in... Oh, wait. Knowing the blast door is being kept open by the device's dwindling battery power, you drop to the floor and grabbing the PST, beginning to crawl forward into engineering. There's just enough clearance for you to worm your way underneath, but the smooth panel floor turning to grating makes it an uncomfortable experience. Oh yeah, that would be quite uncomfortable actually. Like crawling around the smooth floor, sure, but the grating? Ow! Uncomfortable. By the time you make it halfway through with your feet still sticking out the other thoroughfare, the grinding noise that had up when the door starts back up again. Chief, I hope you're nearby to drag me out of this. No. You shove the PSD ahead of you with a small gap, being mindful not to yank at the cable plugged into the underside of the terminal. Ignoring the grating now, you quickly squirm the rest of the way through until you're clear of the door. Then, rolling onto your back, you grab the PSD's cable and give it a swift tug, pulling it out of the terminal on the other side and back to you just before the blast door drops you up. Indiana Jones, that shit. That was way too close. You stand up and then quickly pick up the PST, which still has the low battery warning blinking on its screen. Oi, Chief. Your call is met with the oppressive silence that somehow seems worse than the vast space of the engineering department. Hello there. Lieutenant Ares. Welcome aboard the Gundog. Totally has not been 3 weeks since we played this. Yeah. The save file from February 21st. So, yeah, that's crazy. And if we're already 2.5 weeks into this month, yeah. Crazy. I suppose because I played it, and the following week I didn't stream it, and then last week I didn't stream it because I had to take that day off. I was feeling out of shape. And then so now, yeah, 3 weeks later. It's probably like 2.5, but it's like nearly 3 full weeks. Oh no, 21 plus 20 days, yeah, that's a week. Yeah, no, it's definitely be 3 and a bit weeks actually, even. Ooh. Where does time go? Right out the window. Chief, it's me, Lieutenant Dodgestar. I've got the PST, post-traumatic stress. Or, no, it's the other way around. Never mind. Pacific Standard Time. Chief! Make your way past various systems, terminals, stations, and machinery. You continue to call out to the chief, but there's no response. I mean, they were banging on the door earlier. Why were they not there? I guess they're trying to figure something out. Where the hell could you be? As you continue your way deeper into engineering, you grab the radio. Chief. No signal. Aww. Just like the last time you tried, no one answers, and all you hear is static. So much for emergency radios. Chief. You dart down different catwalks trying to find the chief. Your mind racing as to where she could be. Chief. Master Chief. With the low battery warning illuminating your face in increasingly small intervals, with constant flashing, you stop. Looking down at the PC screen, you make a decision. Well, I've done everything else myself. Running back from the main section of engineering, you make a beeline over to the room that holds the central computer. She's down there. Your footsteps on the grating echoing through the silence. May as well finish things. As you begin to run, the PST starts to beep and the battery symbol flashes even more rapidly. You're running out of battery then? Don't use what you've got left flashing and beeping. That's a very good point. Technology. If you're... Stop wasting your battery power telling me you're running out of battery. Let's just go into power saving mode. A little battery light that's blinking to say, hey, low battery, you're wasting power. Running at full pelt on grated flooring in the dark, not safe. Or central computer. You reach it just as the PST's whole screen begins to blink. Cycling between showing the warning and nothing at all. Oh no. Once you arrive at the doorway that leads to the central computer, you know what you've got to do. The central computer, what you've got to do, yeah. Wasting no time, withdrawing the cable and hurriedly plug it into the terminal. With one hand while scrolling through the options with the other. Come on, hang in there, come on, almost there. Cassandra's card, she has clearance, I don't, and now, there. As soon as the door begins to open, you jump to it and start pushing it on it in order to force it open. Once you've made the gap large enough, you slip through the exact moment as you hear the PST power down and the door slides back shut. Well, if I can't get the power on, I'm stuck in that room. Secure access only. Takes a moment for your eyes adjust to the darkness of the room. Looking around, you see that it is a little bigger than a cleaning cupboard or a crew member's shower cubicle. Masses of thick cabling run from the ceiling and the floor along the walls towards the end of the room opposite the doorway. On the far side is a huge screen with a keyboard positioned below it at about waist height. Stepping towards the interface, you run your hand over the keys. The computer shows no sign of life, even after you begin pushing random buttons. Simply mashing the keyboard doesn't produce any response. Instead, you begin to feel your way over its casing in the darkness, trying to find what might be a power button. Eventually, you find a rocker switch set into the side of the device. You flick it to the alternate position once, but nothing happens. With no other option, you flick it back to the position it was in. This time, the screen illuminates and you hear electronics come to life. You had that switch off and on again. As a hard drive somewhere beyond the screen begins to whir loudly, the screen transitions from its boot screen to a password input screen. After everything you've been through, you're now one input away from getting the ship back online. Look how close we were. My voice was killing me last time. Finally, alright. The codes. And enter. With final flourish, you strike a return key. An immense feeling of satisfaction fills you as you watch the computer work its way through the startup process. Names of the system show up, followed by their status changing from offline to active. A faint draft runs down your neck, which you take to mean life support and ventilation is back online. Alright, hold on, Cassie. I'm... Nani? Wait, what? No, come on. You're hit with a gut punch of panic as the visuals of the screen begin to warp. Fragments of text scatter and lines of codes split and distort whilst a strange noise squeals from the machinery. Don't do this. Oh, it sounds like an old modem. A little bit. Back in the old days when you had to sacrifice a small robot in order to turn on the internet. Its howling screams made the internet work. The machine spirit. Screaming that gives you internet. I wonder if that's where the idea of the machine spirit came from. How old was Warhammer? Warhammer from the 90s. Unsure of what's going on, but beginning to think that it is your fault. You look over the keyboard again, repeatedly striking any key that seems to be like it's stopping the process. 80s, okay. I suppose the very, very early internet was like super... It was only like the late 90s that it started to become somewhat common. But it's been around in some format for a while. End, escape, pause, pause, pause. Come on. Hey, personnel files. You know, that computer glitching out is almost like what happened to me before stream. I was, occasionally, like, you load up VC Face for tracking, and then my monitor just starts flicking between black and on, black and on. I have to turn the monitor off and on. Because, like, the refresh kind of messed up. Starscream's trying to communicate with me. Starscream's ghost. Cassandra Quinn. Date of birth 11197. 1st of January, huh? Place of birth Europa, Colony 01. Rank Lieutenant Commander. File number SD217-91F. Duration of service 0122. Assignment Gundog. Blood type O negative. Additional information. I'm gonna need to squint my eyes here a little bit. State Ward Europa Orphanage. Oh. 307. Direct towards Academy Post Care Top Marks. Highly capable but erratic. Yeah, that sounds like her. Dismissed from JFS Reliant due to significant failing in security process. Look at Sandra's an orphan. As suddenly as it started, the computer's erratic activity ceases, with the only document left on the screen Cassie's personal file. Cassie's file? Wait, why? The computer's nose. You pause, unsure whether you should do anything or leave it as is. You can tell from the ambient noise that it has returned that the ship is back online. But why would a computer freak out like this? Why would it pull up Cassie's file? Oh, we used her card to enter the room, right? No! Huh? Ghost in the Machine much? Starscream's Ghost in the Machine? Doing your best to understand what you just saw, you tentatively reach a hand out towards the keyboard. You're still unsure of what you could do to find out what was just happened, but can't help but feel like whatever it was wasn't right. Oh hey, radio works again. It's Vanessa Bitchface. I mean, Lieutenant Dodgestar, I need you on the bridge right now. Withdraw your hand, instead grabbing the radio to answer Lieutenant Lord. All right, I'm on my way back now. How's Lieutenant Commander Quinn doing? Or now the Bitchface. I love how it said Lieutenant Quinn, but I knew to add in Lieutenant Commander because I've cut out half of her rank there. She's a Lieutenant Commander, not just a Lieutenant. There's no time for her. Get up here now. Wow, rude much. You curse under your breath. Shh. Do not leave the room. You've learned now that if Lieutenant Lord doesn't intend to be helpful, he won't be. Rather than attempt to argue, you make your way through the ship back towards the bridge. Where's the chief? They weren't in engineering. As the elevator doors hiss open, you step onto the bridge. You see Lieutenant Lord frantically flickering switches and turning dials on the instrument panel, stopping everything so often to type commands into her station. Cassie, meanwhile, remains unconscious on the bridge floor. I mean, we could radio the medic to come up now, right? Hey, Doc, get your ass up here. I'm here, Lieutenant. What else is wrong now? You hurry over to Cassie, kneel down, sliding your hand under her back and legs in preparation to pick her up and take her to the newly accessible sickbay. It's the O'Brien. What happened to the O'Brien? Did they suffer the same issue? With a single movement, you stand and bring Cassandra up from the floor. What about it? It's gone. Nani? April 23rd, military calendar 214. By successful reactivation of the GFS gun dog's central computer, Lieutenant Dodgestar, the GFS O'Brien could not be contacted and was no longer coming up in sensors. So I was this close to completing the chapter. Like about 20 odd minutes. But going for 5 hours of talking really drained my voice last time. I probably will not do it as long today. As soon as my voice starts to get tired, I'll be like, nope, that's enough voice acting and reading. The caretaker. Oh no, it's in Delta Quadrant now. After Lieutenant Commander Quinn, or after taking Lieutenant Commander Quinn to the sickbay, Lieutenant Dodgestar, alongside Cadet Garage, her task was sweeping the ship for faults or damage whilst Lieutenant, I keep switching between Lieutenant and Lieutenant because I've always just read it as Lieutenant because that's how it's spelled. But of course, I bounce back and forth between saying it the British way and the American way. Weird. I think I guess enough science fiction just say Lieutenant rather than Lieutenant. So I do appreciate that in Strange New Worlds Season 2, when we finally meet Lieutenant Montgomery Scott, he refers to himself as Lieutenant. And of course, it's probably because he's actually played by a Scotsman now. For the first time ever. Ironically, it's sort of strange that, right? Scotty, iconic Star Trek character. The third version of him is the first one to be played by a Scotsman. A dude from Paisley. The GFS O'Brien is eventually located just as Captain Bartimeus calls an emergency meeting. Oh, good, she's sober. At her Jovian space. The bridge of the Jovian patrol ship, JFS Gundog. Cool name, the Gundog, actually. As you, the Chief, and Lieutenant Lord stand to attention, waiting for the captain to begin the meeting, the sound of an approaching elevator is the only noise that can be heard in the tense silence of the bridge. Ensign Hansen crews entering the bridge and reporting as ordered. Oh, hey, Ensign douchebag. Be thankful I got you out that stuck lift and didn't just leave your ass there, which was extremely tempting. Hansen states, performing a lazy salute as he steps out of the elevator and onto the bridge. You shift slightly as you watch him enter. You knew you were waiting for someone, but why Hansen? He's a pilot. He pauses for a moment and you see him take stock of everyone present. Your shoulders tense up and you inadvertently clench your jaw as he heads straight towards you. At the last moment, he steps to your side and takes a place in the lineup. Next to you, without so much as a sideways glance. Oh, is he actually grateful that 1, I saved your ass from the lift, and 2, saved the fucking ship? But he doesn't want to say it. He doesn't want to say it. You remain on edge, but your attention is quickly taken by the captain as she finishes reviewing the readouts from the control panel on her chair and stands up. Captain! At ease. You want your keys back? The four of you relax slightly, although, with the exception of Hansen, you all maintain a formal stance. Now, that we're all assembled, we can begin. First of all, well done to all of you for your actions whilst I was indisposed. Don't worry, Captain, I won't tell anyone what you were up. You were ill. That's the official story. You were ill and you were recovering in your quarters. You were not passed out drunk. Did I say that last part out loud? For a brief moment, the captain's eyes meet yours, and you do your best not to react. Aside from the doctor, you were confident that you were the only person on board who knew the nature of the captain's indisposition. She was drunk. You hadn't mentioned it to anyone else and didn't intend to, but you find yourself wondering if she was currently in a fit of state. Oh, if she was currently in a fit state to be organizing a mission. Yeah, basically, ma'am, are you sober? Have you had the strongest coffee possible? Straight black, which probably tastes like ass. Actually, no, probably ass tastes better. What did I just say? Anywho, coffee is bitter and disgusting. Not hydrate. With actual hydration. With my lovely tropical fruit juice. Tasty. Oh, hell no. I do not like coffee at all. Coffee is just bitter bean. Same with tea. Coffee, and there's always that argument of like coffee versus tea. I don't like either. I am chilling in the corner with my hot chocolate. I need caffeine, I'll have an energy drink. By that, just like gamer subs. And we don't have to have sugar as well. You know what? That's a great logic, Finn. More tea for you. I think it's the whole thing is like, there's different types of tea. Like, I probably like fruit tea. But you're just your bog standard, air quotes, British tea. It's shite. You doesn't taste of anything? I need to try other ones. But the standard tea is just meh. Your cooperation, ingenuity, and composure under pressure have been noted, and I will be recommending formal awards be applied to your records. Yeah, I'd probably need the sugar and the milk and everything. Out of the corner of your eye, you notice Vanessa nod in agreement, but the rest of you remain still. Now, on to the matter at hand. Hey, I'm gonna get, give me a medal for not, for doing everything. Can I get a promotion to Lieutenant Commander? As of 11:47 Jovian Standard Time, a signal of unknown origin was received which shut down not just the Gundog central computer, but also all of its emergency backup systems as well. And incapacitated Lieutenant Commander Quinn. With Commander Quinn unexpectedly taken ill, Lieutenant Lord took command and Lieutenant Dodgestar was able to carry out her plan To access the hangar via the external airlock. Her plan? Excuse me, her plan? Her plan? You've been too busy carrying out an assessment of the ship's systems alongside Dalton to submit an incident report, and you knew the chief had been tasked by Vanessa with locating the unresponsive O'Brien. Why was the chief doing that? Or not doing the system check? You bite your tongue and glance back at Vanessa, who nods again, the corner of her mouth curling upwards. Captain was clearly working from a biased interpretation of events. Bitch. Give us a side eye. Ironically, I'm looking the wrong direction. It's because I'm looking at a second monitor where I can see myself. Because game is this direction, everything else is this monitor. Which is happily perfect because it's funny, if I'm talking to chat, you'd think I'd look at the camera. But chat's on this monitor over here. So ironically, if you're looking at Twitch, I'm actually looking at chat. Appropriately. Because it's to the left, to the right if you're watching it on Twitch. Which is to my left. It makes sense. So hang on a second. I just realizing the chat box on this screen is slightly behind my head. There we go. Mostly because it's a retro game, I thought I'd use my Gunpla style screen. Oop, I clicked. From there, Lieutenant Dodgestar was able to obtain a portable sub-terminal and the codes for the reactivation of the central computer. Process he carried out successfully at 1327. Wow, it took me 2 hours, huh? It took more than that to read the dialogue. Although the gun dog is now operational, we have not been able to make contact with the O'Brien. We can only assume that whatever interfered, the gun dog system had the same impact on the O'Brien. Unfortunately, it would appear the crew have not been able to reactivate its systems, as we have received no communication from them whatsoever. Chief Cathy's, do we have an update on the O'Brien? The group turns to look at the chief in her magnificent glory. She steps forward, and you realize that this is the first time you've seen her outside of the engineering or the hangar. Although she stands as tall as ever, there's something about her presence that feels diminished. Because she's addressing a superior officer now? Yes, ma'am. We've not had any response from the O'Brien transponder, and the normal sensors have been able to pick up any of the usual activity from a ship. It's a changeling! No. However, you hear Vanessa tut, and the chief out the actual audio tut of Vanessa. And the chief pauses briefly before continuing. That is, Lieutenant Lord and I realized that by using the infrared targeting sensors and fire control, we could pick up the O'Brien itself as if it were debris. What if it is debris? We've located it at 43 degrees off starboard bow at a distance of roughly 300 kilometers. Resolution gets a bit scrappy at that range, but we're not seeing any external signs of activity. 43 degrees off starboard bow at 300 kilometers. Not too far away. I mean, it's halfway to London. In space, that's nothing, really. I see. Lieutenant Lord, how long until we can dock with them to provide assistance? You know, because she just adjusted her glasses. I'm like, I think the chief is best equipped to handle that question, ma'am. Yeah, Chief is not her boisterous self normally. Chief pauses for a moment. You know the answer to this question, but so should the Chief and Vanessa. As the silence drags on, you begin to wonder why neither of them are forthcoming. Chief Cathays. The pause only becomes more loaded as the seconds pass while you have no idea what's happening here. You can feel the tension between the Chief and Vanessa build. I know the answer. Let's answer the question. Although you can tell something is going on between the two of them, you know that the crew of the O'Brien must be in a similar situation to the one you just faced. And without immediate assistance, they were at risk of running out of breathable air very soon. You put up with enough from Vanessa for today and weren't about to let her petty power plays get in the way of helping your comrades. We can't. It's the engines, ma'am. They're still offline. Oh, you don't touch me. What's that, Lieutenant? Whilst Cadet Garange and I were assessing the ship for faults and security issues, we found that the engines had failed to restart. Diagnostics show the force shutdown put the nuclear pulse engines offline. Need to be manually reactivated. The captain lets out an exasperated sigh as she hears this information, making no effort to conceal her frustration. And how long until they could be back online? You prepared to answer with what Dalton had told you, but you're cut off by the chief. We're looking at 6 hours, ma'am. We've been preoccupied with finding O'Brien. Oh, Vanessa, stop tutting. So I haven't had the opportunity to begin the startup process to get them running again. Yeah, why was the chief helping with this? Surely the chief should have been in the engine room. Why did Vanessa have the chief helping her? Any other member of the crew could have been helping to find the O'Brien. What about Mr. Headphones? The thing is, because it's been a couple of weeks, I forget some character names. Is Dalton the one with the headphones? Yeah. Captain follows information with another sigh. You'd always thought of her as a distant or disinterested, but considering her current state, you had to wonder how much of that was her simply working her way through a hangover. Oh, Vanessa is just, you know, she's in a numero. She thinks about one person only, herself. What's best for her career. Make herself look good. And everyone else look bad. I see. The captain stands silent for a moment, keeping her eyes closed and pinching the bridge of her nose with her thumb and forefinger. Oh, I know that feeling. Suddenly her eyes open and she stands completely upright, assuming a posture you'd surprised to see from her that manages to communicate an air of not just authority, but capability. We'll be carrying out a mission as follows. 4 of you snap back to attention and reality. Even Hansen seems to take this announcement seriously. As we're not able to reach the O'Brien with the gun dog to provide support, we'll be doing the next best thing. Ensign Cruz and Lieutenant Dodgestar will head over in an armored frame to provide assistance. You clench your teeth that your body goes rigid. Not only would this be your second trip into space in the span of a few hours, but you'd be doing it with Hansen for company. God, why do you hate me? Your eyes dart across to Hansen, whose attention remains on the captain. Can't be sure, but you swear to see a flicker of a smile on his face. Hey, he owes me one for the lift. We'll be working on the assumption that the same issue affecting the Gundog are affecting the O'Brien. So, Lieutenant Dodgestar will take a portable subterminal, locate the captain or second in command, and then utilize their access codes to assist their chief engineer in reactivating the ship. If there are complications, or which there probably will be, interesting. Possibly? I mean, the game is full of references to sci-fi. Both like anime and in sci-fi in general. Or we're too late. Then our second priority will be to obtain the O'Brien's black box. Oh, so if they're all suffocated. At the very least, we can hopefully gather some information on what's out there that could immediately disable 2 Swift-class ships. Lieutenant Dodgestar, Ensign Cruz, do you both understand? The pair of you salute, in unison, respond. Yes, Captain. Yes, Captain. Chief Cathays, I want you to provide fully charged portable subterminals and guidance on removing a Swift-class's black box. After that, prepare Gundog 1 for launch, and then I want those engines back online. Understood? Yes, Captain. Lieutenant Lord, you'll be overseeing this mission. Understood? Yes, Captain. We need to give her a bitchy voice. Yeah. Very good. It's 16:03. This mission commences at 16:30. Dismissed. With this final instruction out of the way, you all salute the captain and then return to leave. Chief is the first of you to reach the elevator, and she steps onto one without waiting for anyone else, pressing the button for her destination and disappearing behind its 2 doors as they hit shut. Without paying you any attention, Vanessa and Hansen both step onto the remaining elevator, with Vanessa hitting a button as soon as the pair have boarded. As the doors close, you see her turn to Hansen, cross her arms, and begin to speak, but her words are cut off before you can hear them. Ah, so we've got bitch and bastard together. Oh no, actually, the dialogue straight up called Hansen a dick, didn't he? Which was hilarious. You remain on the silent bridge with the captain, who you hear return to her chair. Whilst you wait for an elevator to return, you go over what you might need to do in your head. It will be the chief's responsibility to get you a charged portable subterminal, and Hansen and Dalton will be responsible for pre-flight checks. Aside from getting a spacesuit from the hangar, you realize you don't really have anything you need to do before the mission starts. With less than half an hour to go on before you'll be taking off. You don't have much time to do anything either, though. You might have the opportunity to visit a few other crew members to check in on them, you think, but it might be a push to visit everyone. Eventually, the elevator chief left and returns and the door hisses open. Having returned to her chair, Captain Bartholomew has spun around to face the front of the bridge. Although you can't see her clearly, you notice her right hand quickly typing on the control panel, set into one of the armrests, presumably working on preparations for the mission. Watching her being quietly professional like this, she almost seems like any other captain you've served under. But then you recall the acrid smell of stale alcohol in her quarters. A memory that doesn't fill you with the confidence. Yes, Lieutenant, can I help you? You thought you'd known what you wanted to ask the captain, but in the moment you find the words catch in your throat and you're suddenly unsure of yourself. You've got a lot of questions and not a lot of time. Doesn't help that some of these questions are more dangerous than others. I mentioned prepare if you need to be boarding that armored frame. Advancing cruise soon. You've got something to say? I suggest you do it quickly. I don't have a lot of time to complete this mission plan, so I can't talk with you for long. Based on the captain's terse response, you decide you should focus on the one thing that's most important to you right now. Oh, am I really gonna... I mean, there's a reason I saved it. Why is Ensign Cruz here about your condition? Fuck it, we ball. You draw a deep breath and hold it onto it for a moment. You're well aware of the risk of what you're about to ask, but you know that you couldn't ignore what you'd seen in the captain's quarters, especially as she was about to send you out on a mission. I was just looking to check with you that, you trail off to try to find the most diplomatic way to word your concern. I think the best way is to say, are you feeling better, ma'am? I wanted to make sure that you were... You pause again. All right, before we head off. You show genuine concern. May I ask why you'd want to inquire about whether I'm all right, Lieutenant? Your previous conviction about the wisdom of this line of questioning begins to slowly fade under the captain's firm gaze. Well, it's just after the condition you were in when I was in your quarters, I'll see myself to the airlock. Your stomach sinks like a rock and you feel a chill move down your back as the captain's gaze strikes you. Your words catch in your throat and you find yourself stunned by her look, unable to move or think. Pretty scary looking. Lieutenant Dodgestar, any condition I may have is thoroughly understood and managed by the ship's doctor, whose responsibility it is to ensure I am fit for duty. As such, it is not the head of security's task to make sure I'm head of security. All right. Is that understood? With no other option available to you. You agree? You silently nod your head before releasing the strangled... Yes, ma'am. I mean, theoretically, yeah. Well, thank you for your concern, Lieutenant, but it is all... Then I'll have a mission plan to complete. Yes, Captain. Very good. Dismissed. Okay. Let's go to the sick bay, shall we? And go check on Quinn. Go check on Cassie. Oh, as the elevator door opens, you're immediately confronted by Vanessa standing in front of you, her arms crossed and her foot tapping impatiently. Well, it took you long enough, Lieutenant Dodgestar. You sidestep her and make your way into the central hub. As you do, she turns to follow you. My apologies, Lieutenant. I didn't realize I was needed so urgently. Well, I wouldn't go that far, Dodgestar. Your frustration with Vanessa had cooled over the past few hours, as you'd spent the time with Dalton and had been carrying out duties that kept you well away from her. But back in her presence, you remember how tense things had gotten between you on the bridge and over the radio. Lieutenant Lord, I've got a mission to be preparing for. Is there anything I can do to help you with right now, or can I get going? There's nothing much, Lieutenant. I just wanted to say that you did a good job on getting the gun dug operational again. Something about Vanessa's manner makes you instantly uneasy. Considering how she'd behaved recently, praise was the last thing you'd expected. Is that right? I mean, I think to take the thanks. It's like, thanks, or, oh really, right, yeah, you think so? Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, thanks. I did what I had to. And for that, Received a much-deserved commendation on your record. You roll your eyes and begin to walk away again, unwilling to deal with whatever mind games Vanessa was attempting to play. Wait a moment, Lieutenant Dodgestar. All I wanted to do was congratulate you. You deserve it as a member of the crew who's been gone above and beyond. What's this about, Lieutenant? You ask, your patience thinning rapidly. Straight to the task at hand, that's what I like about you, Lieutenant. Now, a proficient, able crew member like yourself, you know what it means to do your duty. But you've seen how the captain and her secondary carry out their affairs on the ship. Where's this going, Vanessa? What are you getting at? All I want to know, Lieutenant, is whether you think that the crew members like yourself, Chief Engineer Cathy's, Cadet Grange, and the rest deserve a competent commander. Yeah, they do deserve a competent commander. They also deserve one who's not condescending. Maybe. Well, I'd like to be able to disagree with Vanessa on principle and tell her that the leadership structure in place was doing its job well. You know that'd be a lie. Although, whilst the captain's indisposition seemed entirely self-inflicted, you knew that Cassie's affliction was beyond her control. There's no way that anyone could have known what would have happened to Commander Quinn on the bridge. Let's just take this discussion to the airlock, and I'll meet you there. You answer, avoid sharing your thoughts about the captain. We both know I'm thinking bigger, Lieutenant. Lieutenant Lord, I really don't have time for this. Based on your recent conduct, Lieutenant, you seem pretty reliable, so I wanted to let you know ahead of time. I'll be keeping a close eye on this mission to see who's capable and who isn't. It's important to know who you can trust to do what needs to be done, after all. I can't actually disagree with her on that at all. It's like any job. You need to know who's the most competent people that you can rely on for help. And then the ones who are less than competent, yeah, don't ask them. I'm sure everyone's gone to work and gone, oh, I'm on with this person today? Oh. Anyway, nice to talk with you, Lieutenant. Good luck on the upcoming mission. With that, Vanessa turns her heel and heads off down the four-side thoroughfare, leaving you alone in the central hub. Oh, Lieutenant. Do your best. I'll be watching. Perv. The elevator doors slide open and you raise your hand to shield your eyes from the aggressive glare of the sick bay's powerful lights. Also thinking about Vanessa, that whole conversation she's starting to give us Starscream vibes. I'm waiting for a scenario of, hell, that whole scenario after, like, Cassie got incapacitated. She was very much, Lieutenant Commander Queen has fallen. I, Vanessa, am now captain of the gun dock. Starscream with less charisma, yes. As you come to expect, a strong scent of clinical disinfectant pervades the room. As harsh it is, it's infinitely preferable to the powerful odor of the captain's quarters. Yeah, disinfectant smells better than stale alcohol any day. disinfected, doesn't really smell much. Just the lack of smell. Almost. Scanning the room, you see that everything seems in order. The doctor sits at his desk, absorbed in his datapad. All the medical supplies are carefully arranged in the cabinets, and the surgery wing continues to look immaculate. The only thing out of the place is... There he is! AJ! Cassandra, who had been idly laying back on one of the beds, playing with her hair, had seen you the moment you stepped into the room, and swung her legs around to the side of the bed, launching herself off it and towards you. I heard all about how you'd... Ah! Whoa, Cassie, careful. You dart forward just in time to grab her before she stumbles. You take and turns into a fall. All right, let's get you back into the bed. Thanks, AJ. In one swift motion, you scoop Cassie up in your arms and carry her back to the beds, setting her down on the one she'd just been lying on. Okay. I think I could have made that journey on my own, you know. Well, better safe than sorry, alright? Still, looking after me after everything you've done already. My hero. Your cheeks go flush, and you look away for a moment. The captain's acknowledgement of your actions had been so perfunctorily that it barely registered. But Cassie's wholeheartedly praise had you suddenly feeling sheepish. No, it wasn't a big deal. It was just what I had to do. I'm pretty sure anyone else would have done the same thing if they were in my position. Don't sell yourself short, AJ. It is a big deal. Saving the entire crew from complete system failure with no chain of command isn't exactly something we get trained for. Plus, I didn't hear about anyone else going on a spacewalk from one end of the ship to the other to get the equipment they needed. Doing all that doesn't make you a hero. I don't know what does. You smile and look back to Cassie. As self-conscious as you feel, being called a hero for her assessment, or being called a hero, her assessment of events isn't wrong. Thanks, Cassie. I'm pretty sure I should still be thanking you, AJ. I don't think Vanessa could have carried me down here like you did. You bite your tongue at Cassie's mention of Vanessa. I had a strong feeling that Vanessa wouldn't have even tried. Oh no, she wouldn't have. She would have left you there. You push that thought from your mind. You don't have much time with Cassie before your mission is due to begin, and the last thing you want to be doing is thinking about Vanessa. Don't worry about it. How are you doing anyway? Oh, me? I'm doing great. Aren't I, Doc? Although he doesn't look up from his datapad, you see a flicker of recognition in the doctor's face. No, Miss Quinn, you are not doing great. You had a sudden and intense migraine, followed by an unexplained and extended loss of consciousness, which in turn has been followed by a persistent and ongoing headache. I would not look to describe your condition as great. Cassie, why didn't you tell me you were still feeling bad? Oh, come on. What are you, my doctor? No, Miss Quinn. He is not your doctor. It's an expression, Doc. You're not a Gunpla. I don't have that problem. There's a lot of it in this room. Having time to build it is the problem. So I've got a bit of a headache right now. I bet it's nothing. Probably because I pulled a double shift to cover the captain without eating anything but a bag of chips and 3 chocolate bars. I should have gone and got a chocolate bar before I came down here. Cassie. Miss Quinn, you advised me that you've been sticking rigorously to the Nutri-Shake schedule I laid out for. Okay, everyone, jeez. I know, but here I am, hydrated and full of electrolytes on doctor's orders. I am going to be fine. So anyway, how are you doing, AJ? Are you able to finish your shift now that the gun dog's back up and running and you've made sure everything's okay? Hydrate? Okay. Well, actually, we've not been able to make contact with O'Brien. So I've been ordered to head over there in an armored frame. Oh no, honey, that seems really... with Hanson. It's like, oh no, you're gonna have to go in an armored frame with that dickhead? Oh god. Oh honey, I'm sorry. How are you feeling about it? It's fine. I mean, you mull over the prospect. Traveling in a cramped cockpit with Hanson would have never been your first choice to get to the O'Brien, but then again, it wasn't like there'd been room for you to come to blows in there. Anyway, he can't exactly fight in there. He could kick me out, though. At the most, there'd probably be some uncomfortable conversation. Anything he'd try would probably happen once you got back to the gun dog. It'll probably be fine. I know that if there's one thing he takes her seriously, it's his piloting. I don't think he started a fight whilst we're sharing the same cockpit or anything. There you go. It won't be too bad then. Yeah. And on the plus side, I have my stun gun. Besides, once you're on the O'Brien, you can just get to work helping the other crew and ignore him. Well, that's the other thing. It looks like whatever happened to the gun dog has happened to the O'Brien. Since we've not been able to identify any activity coming from them, there's a good chance that the crew hasn't made it. Oh no! Yeah. Could be a bunch of suffocated people over there with slightly frosty bodies because there's no heat either. It's gonna be a fun image if that's the case. Hey, come on. They may not have got their ship back up and running, but maybe they've got their own savvy chief engineer who's figured out a solution that keeps them all safe. And on top of that, if they're really lucky, they've got their own heroic security officer who's saving the entire crew right now. Yeah, you're right. I'm sure it'll be fine. You do your best to match Cassie's enthusiasm, but you hadn't forgotten the chill in the air of the gun dog just before you got it back online. One of the first signs that the ship wouldn't be able to sustain its crew for much longer. That had been over 3 hours ago. Hey, AJ. That rhymes. Whatever happens, it'll be alright. You've already done incredible things today, way more than anyone could have ever expected. You're gonna be alright. Thanks, Cassie. Besides, you said you'd book us tickets for that new water park in the Europa cluster. I'm not gonna let anything happen that'll stop us from going. Now get out there and nail this mission, Lieutenant Dodgestar. Yes, ma'am. You walk by the mess hall, you stop to take a look inside. Everything seems to be operational, normal, from the lazy spinning of the extractor fan to the food vendor cycling, illuminating its different options. At the table and facing away from you is Haru. You watch them as they idly swirl the contents of the cups of coffee before taking a sip. If they've noticed you, they aren't letting you on. But from the looks of it, they seem deep in thought. You don't particularly have anything you want to ask them, but then again, you decide it may be good to check in before you head out. Well, I'm right now, but I bet I know who to appreciate this. Silent voice. Hey, what are you still doing here? Don't you have a daring rescue to pull off? Well, I just thought I'd check in one last time before I left. Make sure you're really okay. Oh, you sweetie. But I'm fine, really. Totally fine. Not fine. I'm currently under supervision to assess the extent of a potential cause of any ailment that I may be suffering from. However, my condition is currently stable and does not appear to be life-threatening. Although, I can think of something that could speed up my recovery. Oh yeah, what? Nothing actually, don't worry about it. No, come on, tell me. No, really, it's fine, don't worry about it. Oh, you mean something like this? That's exactly what I was thinking of. Look at that. Since I'm so good at treatment, maybe I should consider a move to the medical corps. Oh, that's me talking. Sorry. Look at that. Since I'm so good at treatment, maybe I should consider a move to the medical corps. Now that I think about it, it might suit you. You always really liked that nurse uniform. Don't say that in front of the doctor. But now that you've solved this medical emergency, you need to focus on getting ready for your mission. Get out there and nail it, Lieutenant Dodgestar. Yes, ma'am. Oh, is there? I should eat more chocolate. As you make your way into the engineering section, you relish the various sounds coming from the now functioning machinery. The thrum of moving parts, the buzz of electrical systems, the repetitive pulse of various cooling systems. With your newfound appreciation for the activity of taking place all around you, I wonder if this is how the Chief feels on that subject. Hey Chief, are you around? You call out, doing your best to shout over the noise. Chief? What an engine room. Must be an engine room. Duh. Moving from the engineering section onto one of the engineering rooms, the first thing that strikes you is that the huge turbine-like machinery that fills the majority of this area is now still. You got so used to the constant motion and regular thumb that after your first few security reviews, you stopped noticing it. Now that it was absent, the stillness is still of such a huge space to make you uneasy. The only saving grace was that with the cavernous structure of the engine room no longer filled with the sound of engines, you could hear the Chief's analytical monologue echoing across the expanse. You wouldn't have to do much more than follow it to its source to find her. It was actually kind of nice to stop by the engine room as part of my checks and just zone out watching the engine's motion. Without anything going on, such a huge space feels so empty and lifeless. Hey Chief. That's the detectors 1 through 7 calibrated against the background gamma and signaling baseline. Now if I can... Hey Chief, how's it? No blockages in the coolant flow, no warping in exterior. Heat sinks either. Chief? Oh, it's you, Lieutenant Dodgestar. Don't you have a mission to be getting ready for? Well, yes, but I thought I'd check in on how you were doing before I had to leave. Oh, well, everything is fine as it can be down here. The loss of power didn't do any damage. It's all the failsafes for the hard shutdown kicked in, so because of not the ship, Chief, I wanted to check in on you. I'm fine, Lieutenant. I just need to get these engines back online. I would have had them online already if Lieutenant Lord didn't have me waste all that time finding the O'Brien. Once I told her we could find them using the infrared targeting sensors, she should have left it up to Gunner D's. Nuts. And let me go on with things. It's exactly what she should have done. D's could have easily found the ship with the higher sensors. I could have got back to figuring out what's causing the problems with our long-range communication systems by now. Maybe even... That's something else I wanted to ask, Chief. What was happening between you and Lieutenant Lord on the bridge? I've seen what she can get like, but I didn't think she'd be that way in front of the captain. Alright, Lieutenant. You know what? I've seen what you'll do for the ship and the crew, so in my books, that makes you alright. So I'm going to let you in a little secret, in case you hadn't figured it out already. The only reason any of us are on this ship is because JCF don't know what to do with us. Ah, we're the Motley Crew. Motley Crew of rejects. Not bad enough to dismiss or court-martial, but too much of a liability to crew anything important. And I know that includes me. As a union woman, I've butted heads with enough of the brass that they've used every trick in the book to get me out of the way and onto my last warning. But when Lieutenant Lord realized how pissed the captain would be that the engines hadn't been reactivated, he threatened to pin this whole mess on me. That she'd report the decision to delay the engine's reactivation as mine if I didn't back her up her story. What a bitch. Whole thing makes me sick. Some of us actually have important work to do and don't have time to be playing games with the crew to worm their way to the top. As much as I hate going along with it, I'm stuck for the time being. Jeez, I didn't realize Vanessa could be so... But don't worry about me, Lieutenant. I'm a big girl. I can look after myself. I'll figure out some way to deal with her. You just worry about getting back from the Orion safely. You hear? Oh, don't worry. What we need to do, we need to get her in the airlock, for inspection, and oopsie, something happens. Or maybe she's... we'll figure something out. Thanks, Chief. Don't mention it. Although, one thing, Lieutenant. Yes, Chief. Don't interrupt me when I'm clearly in the middle of something extremely important. Noted. Ah, yes, Chief. Now get out of here. Yes, Chief. Love the Chief. She takes shit from no one. Unfortunately, she has to deal with Vanessa's bullshit. Might swing... check my armory. Oh, no. Look. Okay, so it's for the security team members in the event of conflict in the ship's atmosphere being compromised. I'm glad I only had to use a suit to leave the ship. If I needed one whilst on board, well, I'd probably not still be here thinking about it. Electroshock weapons for Ran. Nothing in here that I need right now. Okay, I need here. We're at mess hall. Hey, Haru. Ensign Rumney. Oh, Dodgestar, what's going on? What's a hero like you doing stopping by the mess hall? Ensign told me he was taking you for a ride over to O'Brien. You picking up snacks for the trip? I was just checking up on some of the crew before I left. making sure everyone's doing okay. Oh, well, a professional. I'm doing alright. I was sleeping in my quarters when the power went out. Didn't even notice until Hanson started banging on my door. That's good. I'm glad you're doing okay. Yeah. Dodgestar? Yes, Hanson. Thanks for helping Hanson out. Oh, well, you know, it's my duty, right? Yeah, I guess it is. Still, he's my flight partner, so if you did him solid, you did me a solid. Keep it up. Maybe you aren't the coward we think you are. What do you mean, we? Stop listening to Hanson. Lighten up, Lieutenant. Jeez. All right, Hanson, if you're okay, then I'll leave you to it. Ah, don't be like that, Lieutenant. You just need to chill out. You need help with that? You can stop by my quarters at any time. Moving on. As the door to fire control slides open, you're met with the familiar sound of tiny music escaping from Dylan's oversized headphones, letting you know that the gunner is at his station. Looking around at all the illuminated screens and flashing readouts, it appears that everything here is back up and running as normal. Although there's so much information on display, you've got no idea if this is a correct assessment. Leaning slightly to catch a glimpse of Dylan, you can see that he's currently zoned out in appreciation of the track he's listening to, oblivious to your presence. Knowing that he would have recently had his personal sanctuary intruded upon by both Lieutenant Lord and the Chief, it feels cruel to disturb him. But your years of being a security officer kick in, and you find it hard to resist the urge to check in. Hey, Dylan? Warrant Officer D's nuts. Dylan. Yes, latest report. No update on the... Oh, hey, Lieutenant. Sorry about that. Just had the Chief, Lieutenant Lord Crandon here with me, shouting at each other about finding the O'Brien. Lord wouldn't even let me perform the search without my headphones on. Against regulations. Like it makes a difference to what I can see. Didn't sign up for that kind of stress. I feel you, brother. I feel you. Anyways, what's up? Oh, nothing much. I just thought I'd check in on you, see how you were doing after everything. Ah, you know me, Lieutenant. As long as I get to listen to my music, all good, man. All good. Yeah, that's the voice. All good, man. All good. He's very chill. And like, as long as Lieutenant Lord never comes in here again, I guess. What about you, sir? I heard you got you to thank for getting Gundog back on her feet. You doing all right? Yeah, I guess so. I've been too busy with running the sweep of the ship to stop and think about it, really. Well, if you need to do a spacewalk and all, I'd rather you than me, Lieutenant. Closest I want to get to space is seeing it through these monitors. Yeah. Anyway, if it's okay with you, Lieutenant, I'm supposed to be keeping an eye on the O'Brien, and I was right in the middle of a gnarly Trish and the Replicant song. Mind if I get back to it? No problem. Take it easy, Gunner D's nuts. I'm gonna do that every time. I can't help it. All right. We talked to the chief. We've gone to sick bay. We talked to Haru. Hangar time. As the ship's gravity disappears, you slowly float down the final few steps leading into the hangar. Once your almost weightless feet connect with the steel flooring of the catwalk, You kick off it and towards the guardrail, grabbing it before you float past and bring yourself to a stop. Ahead of you are the typical sights of the hangar, but for the first time since you've boarded the Gundog, its expanse is filled with noise and motion rather than the usual near silence and stillness. You see Dalton floating from one segment of the furthest armored frame to the other, clearly in the process of carrying out his pre-flight checks. As he arrives at each new part, he opens an access panel, checks the hidden machinery and mechanisms underneath, and then slams the panel closed, occasionally stopping to take one tool or another from his belt to apply adjustments to the frame's inner workings. Alongside the erratic slamming of panels and whirling of electronic tools coming from Dalton, you also hear the back and forth bickering between Hansen and Vanessa. Oh, they're bickering, good. You watch as Hansen, donning his flight suit, snaps at the lieutenant, and then kicks off into the empty space of the hangar, swiftly followed by Vanessa, who does not let up on whatever it is she's trying to discuss. So Hansen doesn't care for her either. Good. Glancing at your watch, you see it is almost the scheduled time to depart and start the mission. No use putting it off any longer, I guess. Doing your best to not draw the attention of the squabbling Hansen and Vanessa, you wait until Dalton turns your way and then wave at him, gesturing for him to come over to you once you've caught his attention. Hey Dalton, how are the preparations going? Oh, Lieutenant, preparations are at ease, Cadet. Yes, sir. Sorry, sir. Don't worry about it. Everything all right, though? Oh, yeah, everything's fine, thanks. It's just that this is, This is the first time I've actually had to prepare an armored frame for a real mission. Every other time has been for a drill or a test or something. I really don't want to screw it up. Hey, take it easy, Cadet. I'm sure you've done a good job. But what if I've done something wrong and you and Ensign Cruz would... Slow down a second, Dalton. Sorry, sir. No problem, Cadet. Take it easy. But tell me, have you ever screwed up any of your armor frame drills before? Well, no. Or any tests? No, I guess not. So why would you think you did something wrong on this time? I mean... I'm sorry, I guess I was just getting a bit nervous. It's alright, Cadet. We all get a bit nervous the first time we have to do something for real. But I've seen how hard you work and what the Chief puts you through, so I'm sure you got it all done up to her standards. Thanks, sir. He gives me Tails vibes. He's like Tails before he got confident. Although she always make me double check the actuators. What have I forgotten the actuators? No tails. Ah! Hansen and Vanessa continue their argument, oblivious to your presence. You maintain your grip on the guardrail. Almost time for the mission. You could get ready to depart, but if you've got anything you wanted to do before you left, now would be the time. Is there anything you need to do before we set off? I don't think so. I've spoke to everyone. Just about. I think I didn't talk to the doctor directly, but... Well, the prospect of that coming mission makes your stomach drop. Take a deep breath in. Hold it briefly and exhale slowly, calming yourself. Gathering up your resolve, you kick over to the storage lockers near the hangar entrance and remove a flight suit from one, pulling it over your normal uniform. It'd take you much longer to get the suit on earlier, but thanks to the unwelcome refresher, you now slide into it relatively effortlessly. After closing the clasp and the last of the suit's seals, you take the helmet from the locker and tuck it under your arm, turning back to face the main hangar. Hansen and Vanessa's bickering doesn't seem like it'll end anytime soon, so with a weary exhalation, you float forward, vault over the guardrail, and kick off it, sending yourself towards Hansen's armored frame. Lieutenant Dodgestar reporting for duty. You announce loudly as you grab onto the shoulder of the armored frame. Stopping in the middle of what she was saying to Hansen, Vanessa turns to face you, then pushes off the hangar ceiling and heads towards you, not waiting to arrive to begin her lecture. It's about time you arrive, Lieutenant. You're due to report in a few minutes. What exactly do you think you're doing turning up this close to the mission start time? I'll remind you that I am responsible for overseeing this assignment, so I won't have your lack of timekeeping impacting the outcome. Now if... Oh god, that was... But then she said I was capable and reliable. He wants me for a coup. Before she can get much further into her triad, Vanessa's cut off by Hansen, who floats in between the two of you and onto the open cockpit of the Juno. Ensign crews are ready for departure. Oh god, with that flight suit, he is freaking Jared Mesa. Oh no. I mean, he's been giving out Jared vibes for a while now, being a massive dickhead. He states lazily before disappearing into the armor frame, taking Vanessa's attention away from you and back towards him. And don't forget, Ensign, I'm counting on you. Vanessa calls into the cockpit. If Hansen answers, you don't hear it. Well then, Lieutenant. That smug face. Have you got everything you need for this mission? I don't see you carrying a PST or a guide from the chief on the removing the Brian's black box, didn't you? Hey, Lieutenant. The chief's loud call comes from the hangar entrance, and you see her heading towards you with a large off-white object under her arm and a Malia folder in the other. As she's halfway across, she launches the object at you. Although you manage to grab it with your free hand, its momentum pushes you back into the armor frame, and you hit it with more force than you expected. Ow. It takes you a second to recover, but once you do, realize that the chief's just pitched a briefcase-sized portable computer at you, the PST. Go to purple subterminal. By the time you're able to find its handle and get a grip on it, the chief arrives at Juno and holds onto the machine. I had to grab the one you'd left in engineering and have charged it up, but these devices get pretty thirsty, so it took a while. Ahem. And here's instructions for removing the black box. The O'Brien's a swift like the gun dog, so there shouldn't be any differences in the procedure as long as you follow this to the letter. Ahem. Ignoring Vanessa, the chief proffers a malleable folder containing a few sheets of paper. Rearranging your hold on your helmet, a PST, and your grip on the armor frame, just about managed to take the folder from her. You got the black box guide. Excuse me, I'm in charge here. You glance back to Vanessa, who hovers behind you, increasingly deep scowl forming on her face. Before you have the opportunity to acknowledge the lieutenant, the chief lays a hand heavily on your shoulder, returning your attention to her and almost making you drop the folder. Don't forget, Lieutenant, PST needs access verification to open doors. Your ID won't work on the O'Brien because you'd not be assigned to it. You'll need to use the ID of one of the O'Brien's crew to get anything working. Oh, right. Thanks for the heads up, Chief. If that's the case, would you mind hanging on to these until I get back? Sure thing, Lieutenant. Anyway, we've got engines to be reactivating. Although, I've already queued up the startup reactions, so now Chief Engineer Cathy's. Right. We've both got things to be getting on with. Good luck out there, Lieutenant. With a final pat on your shoulder, the Chief launches herself off the armored frame and back towards the hangar entrance. Chief Engineer Cathy's! Vanessa yells whilst using you to pull herself forwards, her lower lip quivering with anger as she watches Chief pass over the guardrail and towards the stairwell leading it to the hangar. Although she remains silent, you can see the rage building in Vanessa. Her slight frame seeming as if she could explode at any second. As subtly as possible, you attempt to make your way to the Juno's cockpit without attracting her attention. You've already noticed that Dalton has disappeared from view, and you hope to achieve the same thing before the lieutenant can direct her scorn at you. Unfortunately, as you lower yourself onto the Juno's cockpit, the casing of the PST strikes the armor frame surface, resulting in a loud clang that reverberates through the empty space of the hangar. Going somewhere, Lieutenant? Yes, actually, I have important business to do. Leave quickly. Back away slowly. As it glares at you, waiting for your response, you meet her gaze and keep your eyes firmly locked in hers. Instead of answering, you slowly and silently continue your way to the cockpit entrance. Once there, you turn and duck inside quickly, pulling the lever that closes the hatch behind you. Don't you dare ignore me, Lieutenant. You know what? I think that was the more boss move. Doing it quickly. No. I stared her down and did it. It's like, yeah, bye-bye. Don't you dare ignore me, With the hatch closed behind you, Vanessa's yelling is immediately cut off, and all you can hear is a gentle hum of the frame's subsystems. Once inside, your eyes quickly adjust to the low light, with the only source of illumination being the occasional black backlit dial or readout. You pause for a moment and grit your teeth. This was the first time in years that you'd be inside the cockpit of an armored frame. It might be a newer model, but it was pretty much exactly how you remember it. Snapping back to the present, you do your best to head off the thoughts that will follow you. Snapping back to the present, you do your best to head off the thoughts that you know will follow you, reminiscing by taking a look around the cockpit to see where you would be sitting. Although the majority of the Juno's cockpit is taken up by the pilot's seat, which sits in the center, mounted on the series of shock absorbers, there is a space on either side which allows for the addition of a temporary passenger seat to be mounted on the pilots. Much like in Gundam. Sure enough, Dalton has attached his fixture onto the right-hand side of the seat currently occupied by Hansen. You stashed a PST and the file the Chief gave you at the rear of the cockpit. Once they're out of your hands, you pull on your helmet, fastening your suit's final seals, and then strapping yourself into the passenger seat. Whilst you do up the buckles, you look across to Hansen, who you realize hasn't said a single thing since you entered the cockpit. You've been too preoccupied with getting away from Vanessa to notice, but now that you're actually paying attention to the ensign, you see that his chest is rapidly rising and falling with every breath. On top of that, his hands both grasp the flight sticks, squeeze them tightly, and release them, a motion he repeats over and over. despite the fact you're looking right at him, he hasn't noticed you. Instead, his focus seems purely on the monitor in front of him. Ensign Cruz? Are you, okay? There's a slight delay, but a second after you ask Hansen, releases his grip on the flight sticks and turns to face you. The intense expression he just had suddenly replaced by his normal continence. It's condescending look. What? I was just asking if you were okay. Of course I'm okay. What are you talking about? We're not all cowards like you who can't even launch an RAF. You take a deep breath in and exhale slowly as you look away. You were sure that what you'd been expecting, but at least Hansen seemed like his normal self. Thankfully, any follow-up from him is cut off by Vanessa's face appearing on the comm screen and her voice on the frame speakers. Gundog 1, this is Lieutenant Lord. It's 1630. Jovian Standard. The mission has begun. Please confirm you're ready for launch. Copy that, Lieutenant Lord. This is Ensign Cruz in Gundog 1. All systems ready for launch and waiting on authorization. Understood. Authority granted. Stand by whilst you're transported for takeoff. Oh yeah, because we're on the crane above. Although Juno's monitors haven't turned on yet, you can tell that reverberations you feel are coming from it being lowered from the hangar and out of the underside of the ship. Activating all systems. Now. All at once the monitors come to life, illuminating you and Hansen with their glow. Gundog 1, ready. Gundog 1, releasing restraints. Whee! Gundog 1, launching. Once the armored frame is free of its restraints, Hansen slams the flight sticks forward in unison, sending the Juno hurtling away from the Gundog and causing it to shake with acceleration. As the cockpit shudders, you unconsciously grab onto the straps, keeping you in the passenger seat, and squeeze them tightly. With the frame continuing to accelerate, do your best to keep a neutral expression, but despite this, Hansen looks across to you and notices your grim appearance. What's the matter, Lieutenant? Feeling flight sick already? No, I'm fine. You lie. Sure, just sit back and watch how a real pilot handles an AF. Although you thought Hansen had launched at maximum thrust, he somehow manages to find an extra burst of acceleration, causing the cockpit to shake further, doing nothing to help the nausea you feel. If you throw up, sir, your helmet stays on. Eventually, Hansen eases up in the acceleration, and the jittering stops. He's enjoying this, isn't he? Although you're still slightly nauseous, you slowly begin to feel less like the little food you had in time for today will be reappearing inside your helmet. Good. No one wants to barf inside their helmet. As the Juno continues to cruise forward, you and Hansen both sit in the near silence of the cockpit. No real indication of distance between you and the O'Brien, or the speed you're traveling. It's difficult for you to keep track of time, and the journey drags on. I mean, what, 300 kilometers away? How long is that going to take? There's no way for you to be exact, but it feels like at least half an hour has passed with neither of you saying anything. Wow, it's far away. Eventually, the oppressive sounds, coupled with your increasingly desperate desire for a distraction, forces you to think about something you'd never thought you'd do. Willingly start a conversation with Hansen. Like my little passenger seat here. Like, dear God, I actually want to talk to him just to break the silence. Let's ask about the Gundog. So, you stop before trailing off quickly as Hansen doesn't acknowledge you at all. How long have you been on the Gundog? I mean, it's probably a service record. Hansen gives you the briefest flicker of acknowledgement. It doesn't take his eyes off the main monitor. What? I was just asking how long you've been stationed on the Gundog. Why? You're only seconds into this conversation, and it's already one you're beginning to regret. I just, thought I'd ask. I'd heard people talking about your piloting, and yeah, well, people can say whatever they like about my piloting. It doesn't make a difference because I've been stuck on this joke of a ship for a year. Not that it matters. Every other pilot in the JCF is doing nothing but drills right now. So who cares where I am? Fresh, uncomfortable silence hangs in the air between the two of you as you mentally scramble for a response. Oh my god, he turned his head. So what are you doing on the ship anyway? How'd you screw up? Your first instinct is to fire back that you aren't a screw up like him, but you can't admit that Cassie had your transfer put through as a favor without the risk of getting back to Vanessa. I didn't screw anything up. I just got transferred here short notice to fill the role, that's all. Whatever, sir. You don't get dumped on the Gundog unless you've screwed up or are defective. So, so what is it? Neither. Yeah, sure. What about Haru? What about Haru? How long have you known Haru? What are you asking? I'm just asking how long you've known Haru. Why? You into them? No. What? No, I was only... Oh man, I can't believe you're into Haru. They're gonna love this. I'm not into Haru. Just Quinn, no. Ensign. Oh man, maybe she does. Maybe that's why you're asking. Damn, no wonder you're asking. I knew you two were both freaks. Oh, Hansen, you jackass. Just shut up, Ensign Cruz. Okay. First question was fine. Second question was, why bother? As the two of you continue your flight towards the O'Brien, the quietness of the Juno's cockpit adds to the sense of tension you feel between yourself and Hansen. Despite not engaging with or even acknowledging you, you can't help but feel a sense of pressure. Hansen's simple presence continues to put you on edge. You mull over a few potential topics of conversations, but can't come up with anything that won't sound weird or forced. Yeah, like we just did. Eventually, you resign yourself to the fact that the rest of the journey will just have to continue on this way for as long as it takes. You shift in your seat and adjust one of the belts slightly. With a sigh, you make yourself as comfortable as you can, settling into the silence. No other sounds beyond the almost imperceptible background noise of the cockpit and the Juno's monitor showing nothing but stars. Your mind drifts, bouncing from thought to thought. The warmth of the cockpit and the gentle vibrations caused by the shuddering of the Juno's engines cause your thoughts to idle and slow. Eventually, without realizing it, you begin to drift off to sleep. You're almost completely gone when both you and Hansen sit upright and fix your attention on the main monitor. Although there's nothing to see beyond the stars and the visual indicator, you know that this means the O'Brien is close by. We're here. Hansen mutters to himself as he begins to flick switches on the control panel to his side. You watch silently as he works the pedals and flight sticks to reduce the Juno's speed. Gundog, this is Gundog 1. We've got target lock on the objective. I repeat, this is Gundog 1. We've got target lock on the objective. Hansen scowls at the communication screen as it returns to nothing but static, an indication that it hasn't picked up any incoming signal. He quickly resets the switches in the control panel before activating them again. I repeat, Gundog, this is Gundog 1. Put target lock on the objective. Do you read? Whatever's interfering with the ships. Interfering with long range radio. The short range handheld ones we had in the ship were fine. But now that we're further away, a few hundred kilometers away. Piece of junk! His foot strikes the paneling underneath the main monitor, causing it to flicker momentarily, but doing nothing to help attain a signal. With the O'Brien invisible on the screen, you remain silent. Hansen continues to deactivate and reactivate the Juno's transmission system. Gundog, this is Gundog 1. We've got target lock on the objective. I repeat, Gundog, this is Gundog 1. We've got target lock. God damn it, Lord. Where the hell are you? Hello? Hello? This time, Hansen's fist strikes the main monitor. Thankfully for both of you, the reinforced glass of the screen remains undamaged. You move as far away from Hansen as the restraints of your temporary seat will allow. You good, bro? You always knew he was hot-headed, but that didn't make this any easier to deal with. To just let him do what he wants to do, try and calm him down. Hansen continues to attempt re-establishing contact with the Gundog. Each time he does, his efforts are met with the same familiar static. Come on, what's wrong with this piece of crap? Gundog, come in! Ah! Hey, come on, take it easy. You tell him, holding both your hands up, palms forward, and a placating gesture. Don't you tell me what to do in my frame, Dodgestar. Hansen snaps back, continuing to flip switches and occasionally strike the controls. Ensign, that it's not going to do any good. Yeah? What do you know? You can barely contain the long, exasperated sigh you feel building inside of you, but you manage not to express it. Knowing it will just set Hansen off more. Instead, you tell him what you remember the chief telling you earlier. Before all this started, the chief said she was having problems with the long-range communication system. It was causing issues with her transmissions, with the O'Brien, as well as the targeting system. It's probably not fixed yet. Might have been made worse when the power went out. So what, we're out here with no mission control? You pause, crossing your arms and shrugging. Yeah. I guess so. Yeah, of course. Can't expect anything to go to plan when that ship's involved. The Gundog is cursed, it would seem. This is Gundog 1 in case anyone out there can actually hear us. We're approaching the JFS O'Brien. We're carrying out the visual inspection of the O'Brien now. With the O'Brien now close enough for you to actually make out its finer details, Hansen decelerates the frame, bringing it to a near complete stop. Deftly adjusting the Juno's orientation, he then begins to circle the Swift-class ship, and the two of you focus on the monitor, trying to identify anything out of the ordinary on the O'Brien before you get closer. Now, here's the obvious question. How are we getting on board? Because to get on board the Gundog from the outer airlock, I required the passcode, which we only knew because it's the same as the door to Cassie's room and our anniversary. So, what we're going to do, we can just go punch a hole into the hangar? Wait a second. Is that You point to the O'Brien's main airlock, and Hansen quickly sets a camera to zoom in on it. Wide open. Looks like someone's tried the same stunt as you. Yeah, but that looks like both doors are open, actually. This is the outer door. That, the airlock. That's the corridor, isn't it? Which means the main corridor has been completely vented. If that's the case. Unless it's glass. Oh, actually, wait. There's a frame there. That might just be glass. No, that's not it. I closed the secondary airlock door behind me. Both those are open, which means... Oh yeah, I'm right. The ship must be completely depressurized. Yeah. If this happened when the power was off, none of the emergency bulkheads would have been able to close. Oh. So if someone opened both of these without closing the other one, the emergency bulkheads can't close without power. And so that whole interior gets vented. So everyone on board's dead, right? Is what we're realizing. Two of you sit in silence, both considering what you've just found out. The same thing had happened to the O'Brien as the gun dog. And someone had opened both airlocks. Then what little breathable air was left in the ship would have been sucked out into space. We've still got a mission to do. Come on. You nod silently in agreement as Hansen, apparently sobered by the realization, moves the armored frame towards the airlock. This isn't necessarily the end, you think. If some of the crew were lucky enough, they might have been able to get into their spacesuits long before they ran out of air. They'd be running low on oxygen by now, but this is Gun Dog 1, docking with the O'Brien. Now, only meters away from the other ship, Hansen brings the Juno to a complete stop. With a surprising amount of delicacy, has it reach out with one arm, grabbing hold of a protrusion from the ship and anchoring itself. All right, let's go. In a well-practiced motion, Hansen releases himself from his seat harness, moves forward and grabs a lever to open the cockpit's hatch. As soon as it's open, you feel the rush of the cockpit's air escaping. Meanwhile, Hansen pulls himself out and steps onto the airlock. Having a slightly harder time with the straps on your harness, it takes you a few moments longer to release yourself. Once free, you gather up the PST and the instructions the chief giving you for making your own way out of the Juno. The two of you tentatively make your way from the airlock itself through to the room beyond. Although nothing is obviously broken or wrong, the fact you're standing in the area identical to the one on the gun dog, but open to space and completely uninhabitable sends a shiver down your spine. Nice flight suit. You look to Hansen and see him mouthing something you can't hear. You continue to stand there in confusion as Hansen wordlessly gestures at you until he looks exasperated. Takes you a moment, but you realize what's going on and you reach up to the radio on your chest panel, flicking the switch that activates it. Oops. It's about time you figured it out, sir. That smug face there is hilarious. Hansen's voice crackles over your helmet speaker. Unlike the Juno, where the cockpit was pressurized, you could hear each other. You now find yourself standing in a complete vacuum where no sound can travel, which is why it's totally silent. So, what's the plan? Turn to survey the empty void of the airlock. The first priority given by the captain was assisting the crew of the O'Brien to get their ship back online. But judging by the current state of things, you weren't sure you'd have much luck with that. The plan, you say to yourself more than Hansen, you go over the current situation in your mind. That's right, Lieutenant. The plan. Right now, you got rank. Without Lord screeching down our comms line, this is on you. Unless you're after a trip down memory lane and want to sit in the Juno's cockpit while I do everything. Ooh, low blow. A mix of shame and anger swell inside you as you bite your tongue to not snap at Hansen. The first thing that comes out, the mind. Still at Hansen. Despite the way he said it, he wasn't wrong. With nothing coming from the Gundog, you were now the highest ranking officer involved with this mission. All right. First priority was to assist the crew. It doesn't look like anyone's going to be in this part of the ship. We still need to try. Still need to try. Since we've used the PST before, it's going to be easier for me to carry out that search. Whilst I'm doing that, you can start removing the ship's black box. You hold up the manila folder that the chief had given you on the Gundog, and Hansen takes it from you, clumsily flicking through it with his gloved hand. On the bridge, huh? And how are we going to get up there? Same way I did on the Gundog. Come on. Turn around and head into the ship, eventually arriving in Central Hub. I mean, Central Hub is just across from the airlock. Okay then, Lieutenant, now what? Go up past Hansen to where the maintenance hatch is located. Next to the elevators, you take the opportunity to quickly switch your radio off, tell Hansen exactly what he can do next, then switch it back on. So I turned it off, told him to go fuck himself, and then turned it back on. And what's next, Hansen, is this. You run your fingers down the seam between the panel and quickly find the catch. Unlike the one on the bridge, you're able to fit your fingers into this one and you quickly release it. Ta-da! As the hatch comes away in your hands, you wait to feel the sensation of air rushing out of the crawlway. Unfortunately, you feel nothing, confirming one of the fears you had about the ship and her crew. Placing the hatch down, you turn to Hansen, saying nothing about your discovery, instead gesturing to the ladder. At the top of this ladder, you'll find another panel like this one that leads onto the bridge. To release it, all you need to do is push on the latch from the inside. Think you can handle that? What do you think, Lieutenant? You're not dealing with some dumb security officer here or anything. Let a pilot show you how it's done. With a swagger that's only exaggerated by the bulk of his suit, Hansen strides past you, steps onto the access tunnel, and heads up to the ladder. You take the opportunity to turn your radio off again and tell him what you really think about pilots. Wasn't I a pilot at one point? Water. Now that you've set him to work. Oh yeah, once you're done, you switch it back on in case he sends any transmissions. Now that you've set him back to work, it's up to you to try and find any survivors of the O'Brien's crew and use their help to get the ship back online. I mean, what's on the bridge? Look around the empty central hub. The same silence that previously filled the Gundog now filling your helmet. After a moment of contemplation, you head towards the first place you think it may be fruitful to explore. Engineering. You move from the central hub towards the darkness of the aft thoroughfare. A movement catches your eye. You stop to peer into the darkness ahead and catch sight of a silhouette in the distance. Huh? Hey, who's there? I'm from the Gundog. You call out using your radio to broadcast yourself. We're here to help. Come back. That flight suit looked different. As the figure vanishes into gloom, you dash after it, eventually arriving at the end of the long corridor that makes up the aft thoroughfare. Having headed past the armory, you move towards the end of the corridor. A dead end when considering the doors of the engineering department are sealed. Did I just imagine it? Turn around trying to see if you'd missed something. No signs of life here. Aside from yourself, you begin to doubt that you saw anything at all. This mission must be getting to me. Better get this over with before I start seeing things. Bracing yourself with your left hand against the wall by the entrance to the armory, you bring your right hand down and a fist against the door. Continue to pound your fist against the unyielding entryway, hoping that if there's anyone there, they have enough air to be able to hear you and respond. After a few seconds of pounding, press your helmet against the door, hoping that you can pick up the vibrations of someone returning your signal. You're met with nothing but silence. Stand back and hammer on the door, harder this time. After your fist begins to ache, you press your helmet back against the doors paneling, holding your breath and listening out for any sign of activity. With no sign of life, you dejectedly step back, giving the door one final slam with your fist and cursing the silence. We don't have any way to open these doors yet. Where the aft thoroughfare should transition to the engineering department instead, all you see is a gigantic blast door, which means engineering might still have air potentially. From experience crawling underneath one of these, you knew that there was no way you could ever hope of moving it manually. On top of that, there was no point in attempting to open it before you had the emergency access codes. The battery powering the door took to open, you probably shut yourself in engineering with no way of getting back out. For that though, you need a keycard belonging to one of the crew. As it was, you had no hope of even opening it, whether that was pointless or otherwise. That's slightly ajar. What if the ship has a cadet like Dalton, or whether they've got two fully qualified engineers? Either way, if we are lucky and whatever they've got, or whoever they've got is as resourceful as our chief, this hangar is probably my best bet for finding a crew member to help. Same schedule as the gun dog, then there shouldn't be anyone in there. Of course, things like schedules never did anything to stop Cassie from grabbing a bite to eat whenever she wanted, so maybe someone's here in a similar attitude. Let's hope that whoever looks after the fire control in this ship doesn't have a pair of headphones half as large as Dylan. You make your way through the gloom of the foreside. You absent-minded knock on the low gravity warning sign just before double doors that lead to the ship's hangar. The PST to your feet, hammer the door. Hopefully if anyone's in there, they'll hear signal and respond. Reciprocate in kind. After around 10 seconds of this, you stop and press your helmet against the door. If there's any noise in there, the vibration should travel through the door into your helmet, allowing you to hear it. Oh, guess no one's in there, but that was a noise. Hey, can you hear me in there? You call it, resuming your hammering on the door, and you get no response. Hey, whoever's in there, we're from the JFS Gun Dog. We're here to rescue you. Can you hear me? There's definitely someone in there. Although you're still not getting an obvious response, the knowledge that someone is in there fills you with a sense of urgency, and you hurriedly set your suit's radio to broadcast. This is Lieutenant AJ Dodgestar of the JFS Gun Dog. We're here to provide assistance to any crew on the JFS O'Brien. Crunchy. I repeat, this is Lieutenant AJ Dodgestar of the JFS Gun Dog. We're here to provide assistance to any crew member of the JFS O'Brien. Come on. Slam your fist into the hangar door one more time. Despite the signs that someone was still alive in there, with no way to get into the hangar and no response on the radio, you feel like you may as well be a million miles away from them. Picking up the purple subterminal, you look from one end of the Foresight thoroughfare to another. The presence of a survivor made you need to find a keycard belonging to a member of the crew, all the more urgent. But if there's any air in there, opening this door would kill them. Mess hall? Given the time in the gun dog hand, presumably that O'Brien had blacked out, you knew there shouldn't have been anyone in the mess hall. Despite this, you also knew that it wasn't uncommon for crew members to disappear from stations briefly to grab a quick pick-me-up, or retreat, especially if their duty was quiet. And especially if that crew member's name was Cassandra Quinn. You go through the routine of hammering on the door, waiting for a response, and continuing to batter it with your fist just in case you hadn't been heard the first time. Despite your best efforts, you don't manage to get a response. You exhale slowly as you look at the door of O'Brien's fire control on the gun dog. Dylan had his music to keep him occupied. Whoever was assigned to the station on the O'Brien probably wasn't so lucky. With this thought in mind, you carry out the process of hammering on the door, resisting your helmet on giving it blah 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 blah. Nothing coming from the room beyond. You step back, mentally crossing this room off from your list of potential safe havens. Boost stat based off where the quarters are. They're probably a pilot like Haru. Mark Boot. This is where Hansen's room is on the gun dog. I guess they could be one of the armored frame pilots. Rory Way. I wonder if they have any junior engineers in placement like Dalton. Albany Row. The quarter distribution is the same as on the gun dog. This must be their Brian's gunner. No response. This is where Cassie's quarters are on the gun dog. The nameplate reads Kim Henry. Must be their Brian's second in command. Jalia DeForge. Given the location of the room, I wonder if this is the chief engineer. DeForge? Ah. Jala DeForge. Jordi LaForge. I went a little bit on the nose. Also, I just realized that the other one says Bashir on it. This is where Vanessa's room would be. It says here that it belongs to Jules Bashir. I mean, that one's even more on the nose because Julian Bashir. That was the Lieutenant Cassie was speaking to just before this all started. So they're probably on the bridge still. Esri DeBoer. Esri Dax. Ship's doctor, perhaps? Kim Henry. Ensign Kim. Second in command. So we got Jordi LaForge, Ensign Kim, Julian Bashir, and Esri Dax. You approach the captain's quarters at the end of the corridor and see the same Jovian insignia as on the captain's pharmacist's door. Below it is a nameplate which proudly presents the O'Brien's captain's full name, Paul Henry Gerard. Paul Henry Gerard, Jean-Luc Picard. So many Star Trek references on this ship. And it's the O'Brien as well. As with all the other locked doors you've encountered so far, you begin by bracing yourself before hammering on the door with your fist. After a few seconds of this, you then lean in and listen for the response. No responses. In the blackout, if everything was going to plan, and the Captain Mays should be on the bridge to the gun dog, not Cassie. Maybe that's the situation here. Spare a few minutes thinking of other optimistic scenarios before turning away and heading back into the corridor, giving your mind the opportunity to shift towards the more negative possibilities. For all our sakes, Captain, I hope you're not in there. Wait, what were the names of the other one? Busk Strat. No, I can't figure that one. Mark Boot. Or pilots. Rory Way. Albany Rose. So those ones that I'm not getting or feel less obvious, the references. Let's see if there's anyone down in the sick bay. Instead of falling Hanson up, you start moving downwards. As you descend, the crawlway eventually becomes complete dark. The only indication that you're given that you've reached the bottom of when you bring your foot down and you unexpectedly stomp on the floor panel. Now at the bottom of the shaft, you grope around in the darkness, looking for the catch that will release the panel by elevator. After a few minutes of sliding, you palm around blindingly. Your suit's glove catches something. You investigate it with your fingers, tips to confirm that it is what you're looking for, releasing it, grabbing the panel as it falls away, and placing it to the side as you step through into the sickbay. Oh. No rush of air to indicate that you've pressurized the room. You're almost entirely certain that you knew what to expect, but what you found goes beyond that. Found their doctor. Behind the desk set to meet those who enter the sickbay, you see the crumpled form of someone wearing a white coat, much like Dr. Rosarim's. You quickly make your way over to them, but as you do, you stop momentarily as you feel something crunching underneath your boots. Looking around, you can see the doctor is surrounded by broken glass. Taking stock of the room, you realize that the cabinets at the far end of the sickbay are all still locked, but the glass panels have been shattered and their contents scattered. Instead of trying to puzzle out what's happened, you turn your attention back to the doctor, kneeling down by them and gently turning them over. You're faced with a woman, who seems to be in her mid-50s. Her sandy hair done up in a loose bun with errant strands tucked behind her ears. You notice that of the two lenses set into her round wire frame spectacles, one is cracked and the frame sits askew in her face. Although her pale blue eyes are wide open and staring at you, they don't move and she does not blink. Her skin is pallid, matching the cool blue of her eyes, striking red of her lipstick standing out in the dramatic contrast. You stay holding the doctor for a moment before gently laying her down, and with as much delicacy as you can manage in your bulky spacesuit, close her eyes. As you stand up, you exhale deeply. Although it was almost certain this would be the scenario you'd be facing for most of the ship since the central area had been depressurized, no safety measure engaged, you've been holding out hope that you'd find crew members alive and well. Despite the sight of the doctor, you still hold on to that hope. As you survey the room, you turn your attention back to the glass, underfoot, and the shattered frontage of the cabinets. What happened here? The doctor looks like she was involved in a struggle down here. Can't tell if she died before or after the ship was depressurized. As you head towards the back of the room to examine the cabinets, you feel the crunch of glass fragments under your feet. Although the floor is scattered with various boxes and bottles of different medicines, there's something in particular that catches your eye. You squat down and pick up an open packet that you recognize. Nutri-Shake mix. As you turn the pouch over in your hands and look inside, you find it's completely empty of the powder that it should contain. Placing it back on the floor, you look around and realize that whilst all the boxes of medication are all still sealed, the packets you see torn open are all Nutri-Shake packets. Did someone really do all this for Nutri-Shake? Unless something was being hidden among the Nutri-Shakes. There's no one in the right now, no point in opening that door. All vacant. Could whoever have done this be in there for treatment? Stand over the doctor, trying to see if there were any clues as to what happened. To her beyond the crack in her glasses lens. As you survey her, you notice that unlike Dr. Rosarium, she doesn't wear her stethoscope around her neck or her keycard on her lanyard. Hang on, her keycard. Thought reminds you of the chief's instructions that you need to use a keycard from a member of O'Brien's crew if you were going to activate any doors within the PSD. You still resolve, aware of what you need to do, but not finding the concept altogether pleasant. Sorry about this, Doc. Squatting beside her, you take the doctor down, or pat the doctor down. Although the thickness of your space gloves makes the task difficult, you do your best to be respectful. Eventually, you reach the doctor's waist and feel a protrusion from her side. Opening her white coat, you see an internal pocket, and after a moment spent trying to fit your glove hand inside, you manage to grab a hold of something and pull it out. Get the doctor's access keycard. Stand up and read the name in the back of the keycard. Dr. AJ Dodgestar. You unclasp the pouch on the side of your suit, deposit the card, and then close it again. The doctor won't have the clearance to let me access the central computer, but maybe this will let me find someone who does. Thank you for your help, Doc. Dr. Dodgestar. Just sorry we didn't get here sooner. You walk up to one of the cabinets, a broken glass frontage. You gently pull on its handle. As you expect, it's still locked. It doesn't budge. Looking down at your feet amongst the various packets of medication that appear to have been hastily pulled out of the cabinet, you can see a selection of Nutri-Shake packets all torn open. Yeah. Back to the central hub, barely illuminating. It's above you. You pause as your radio hisses to life. Hello? Ensign? Lieutenant Commander Quinn from the JSF Gundog. Commander in command. Cassie? What are you doing on this? We're picking you up, picking up your signal and arrived at the rendezvous area. Please transmit your precise coordinates. Over. Wait. Hydrating. That is the recording. That's what we said she was transmitting to the Gundog, the O'Brien, before she got incapacitated. Cassie, what are you? We read you. That's the sweet voice you got there, Gundog. I'm transmitting coordinates and mission update files now. Good to finally. This is from when? Roger that, JFS O'Brien. It's Lieutenant Commander Quinn from the JSF Gundog. We're picking you up your signal and have arrived at the rendezvous area. Please transmit your precise coordinates. Over. We read you that. Reading itself. A snippet of conversation between Cassie and Lieutenant Bashir lips a few times until eventually fading into static. There's little explanation as to why the transmission started. It ends. What would be transmitting that recording? Okay, bridge. Hey, Hanson. You make your way to the ladder towards the bridge. You find your progress slowed by the bulk of your spacesuit as it catches against various protrusions that stand out from the walls. By having to stop multiple times to free yourself from these obstacles, you eventually see the faint outline of the entrance to the bridge. Within the remaining distance, without incident, you step out from the hatch onto the bridge. The absence of any sign of depressurization when you remove the panel in the central hub, as well as what you'd seen in the sickbay, prepared you for what you knew were about to see. Knowing you were about to see it, however, did not make it any easier. At the station on your left, you see the slumped figure of a young man. From his uniform and general appearance, you recognize him as Lieutenant Bashir, the officer that Cassie had been speaking to moments before the power went out on the gun dog. Unlike when he appeared on one of the gun dog's view screens, the man you saw now had clearly suffered from what looked like either a small explosion or massive electrical shock. The front of the uniform was at its best singed and at its worst completely charred, as was the skin of his hands and face. What the frick? You grimace at the thought of what could have happened as you turn your attention to the captain's chair. He's charred, yeah. The slouching to the right was the ship's captain, a rictus smile on his face, having seemingly suffered a similar fate. Whatever had happened to these two, it looked like something entirely different to what had happened to the doctor in the sickbay. Although she'd clearly been injured by something, someone, the cause of death for these two looked much more obvious. Although the question remained, how? You paused for a moment. You'd almost put your hand down on the headrest of the captain's chair, but you quickly moved away. Something had electrocuted these two then. Pretty grim, right? Hansen! You almost fall backwards in surprise as Hansen's voice sounds suddenly from your helmet speakers, and he appears on the far side of the bridge, having emerged from underneath the control station right on the right. Easy, Lieutenant, it's just me. What, never seen what a fried human looks like? Wow, Hansen. Take a deep breath in and exhale, catching the breath that Hansen had just scared out of you. Like Krang. I mean, that one especially. Damn it, Cruz. What the hell are you doing hiding under there? Following orders, sir. Remember, the plan. Hansen lazily waved the folder you'd passed on to him at you. Wait, these guys look like they've been electrocuted. Based on where they are, did you check? Listen up, Lieutenant. Power's not on. There's nothing to check for. You can't help but be amazed at Hansen's cavalier attitude towards the risk of a painful death via electrocution. Alright. How's retrieving the black box going? Not bad. I've managed to get most of the casing undone, but there's a lot going on in here, and the suit doesn't make it easy. What about you? Find anyone? You turned to look at the captains and Lieutenant Bashir for a moment before looking back at Hansen. Checked the sick bay and found the ship's doctor. She's dead, too. Aside from her, these two are the only crew members I've managed to confirm. Not looking good. Yes, that keeps the thing simple. No survivors, we get this box, then we get out of here. What, you want to hang around here a bit longer? This was a whole crew, Hansen. They might still be alive. Yes, you better get looking and find them, huh, Lieutenant? Ease up, Lieutenant. I can saving this from experience. If everyone's dead, there's no use whistling or wishing they were here. They weren't. Not gonna bring them back. But if you're gonna find them, you should get moving, probably. Not much air left anywhere on the ship, and if they are lucky. Another shrug, Hansen walks away from you and heading back to the control station. He was heading under when you entered. Let me know when you're ready. We're leaving though, alright, Lieutenant? On the right hand bridge, the station used to control the ship. Unlike Lieutenant Bashir's station, it didn't look like anyone was there when whatever had gone on there happened. Instead, you can see hands underneath it. You hear the occasional mutter and grumble over your radio as he struggles to remove the parts needed to allow him to access the O'Brien's black box. Better just leave him to it. On the left hand, you see that the bridge excuse me. You see the station used for ship management and communications. You knew this is where Lieutenant Bashir would have been when Cassie spoke to him moments before the blackout. Like the rest of the bridge, you could see that every system was offline, nothing more than rows of dead screens and useless plastic and metal. Mindful not to disturb the lieutenant's body, you examine the area to see you can tell what caused his current condition. No signs of damage, you rule out an explosion or catastrophic malfunction, leaving you to assume that he must have somehow received a mass electrical shock. What could have possibly caused something like that? You circle the captain's chair looking for anything that could tell you what had gone on when you lost contact. Instead, all you see is the stiff body of the ship's captain, slumped to the side, and his head tightly gripping the armrest. As you get closer to him, you see signs of whatever had happened to Lieutenant Bashir. It also happened to him. Burns cover where his skin rests on the metal of the chair, and the back of his uniform shows scorch marks. Rest in peace, Captain Gerard. Yes, Gerard instead of Picard. Your gaze is caught by the view of space, the main window. You knew that one of those lights was the gun dog, the sole reassuring thought you had the entire time you've been here. What else was out there? What had happened didn't look like any attack that you'd ever seen. But what could possibly have happened on the O'Brien to cause all this? Yeah, so everything went out and then a massive electrical charge fried the crew, eventually. Looking into space won't help me figure this out. Despite already having Dr. Bador's keycard, you still need a keycard belonging to someone on the bridge. Or if you were to have any chance of accessing the central computer, reactivate the O'Brien. You no better card to accomplishing this than the captain's. As you walk around to the front of the captain's chair, you shudder. The shock that must have killed him had left his hands clasping the armrest with talons. His face is gaunt and his eyes went wide, together with how the corners of his mouth had drawn back as far as they would go into the horrendous grin. The whole expression was unnerving, as if he'd been killed by some fatal but hilarious joke. You know what you need to do, and although it's a practical necessity, something about it feels wrong. Sorry about this, Captain Gerard. You pat the captain down, but find no indication that he's carrying his keycard in his pockets. As you stand back for a moment, trying to think if there's anywhere he may have left it, your eyes are drawn to the hand tightly clenched to the armrest, which also doubles as a control panel. You remember having seen Captain Barnabas insert her keycard into the equivalent panel in the gun dog on occasion to unlock certain functions. A grim wave of realization hits you as you think that if the card wasn't on the captain, the control panel's most likely place would be. The only issue with that was that Captain Gerard's death grip was covering the slot of the keycard. With a knot in your stomach, you lay your hand on the captain's. A shiver runs down your spine. You're just starting to squeeze your fingers underneath his palm and start pulling it when, as you look down, you notice the gleam of a starlight reflecting off a piece of plastic by the captain's foot. A huge sigh of relief, you kneel down and take the card from the floor. Luckily for you, the captain must have dropped it just before he was shocked. As you pass the card from one hand to another, inspecting the front and the back, you see that it appears to have all but melted. Plastic coating is mostly stripped away, and what remains is bubbled up, the remnants of the magnetic strip flaking off. You can tell from its condition that it's not getting you anywhere. You sigh as you lay the remains of the card by the captain's hand. I can't find a card with access to the central computer. There's no hope for the O'Brien. While you already had the door's keycard, you knew that it wouldn't have the clearance needed for you to access the ship's central computer. That you'd need either the captain's card or a card from one of the two members of operations. Captain's card had been fried beyond usability by whatever happened to him, but maybe Lieutenant Bashir's card had been more lucky. In your best to get as gentle as possible, you pat down his left-hand trouser pocket. Feeling nothing, the thick gloves of your spacesuit, you head to the other side of his chair before repeating the same action in his right pocket. This time you feel something. A sense of unease, you attempt to remove the contents of his pocket, but was trying not to disturb the body too much. Eventually, with some difficulty caused by the clumsiness of your spacesuit and your desire not to disturb Bashir's body any more than you need to, you manage to pull out what feels like to be his keycard. It's also fried. You turn the card over a few times. It's definitely the lieutenant's keycard, but it looks like it's been half melted. Not only is it warped out of shape, but the plastic coating is blistered, with the magnetic strip on the back almost entirely peeled off. You could tell from his condition that it's totally useless. You wouldn't even be able to fit that into any keycard reader or terminal, even if the surface hadn't been ruined. Right, looks like this won't be getting me anywhere. Just like the captains, hopefully I can find the second in command. Otherwise, there'll be nothing we can do with the O'Brien. Right then, we've got the doctor's keycard. So I could head to the, well, we heard banging inside the hangar, didn't we? But I could also go check the, let's see, that's Bashir's. Okay, so there's some peace, Lieutenant Bashir, yeah. Oh, I hope not. Ensign Kim Henry, Ensign Kim. O'Brien's second in command. No, don't let me use it. All right, let's try the hangar. Catherine Janeway. Dr. Dubour's keycard, I'll be able to access the hangar. Although, there's a chance that whoever is in there may not be in a spacesuit yet. If I open these doors now, I risk pulling them out in the vacuum. There may be something I've missed that could let me get the access codes more safely. At the captain's quarters. And lay the PCS off to the side. Yeah. You know that you're not going to find the Captain Gerard in there, and the chances of anyone else being in there, his quarters, is extremely slim. But the potential that there might be something of use in there, like the O'Brien's access codes, is too great to ignore. Alright. Unlock function. Doctor's keycard. Was a doctor should be able to get in there, right? As security officer, your card had enough authority to access everyone short of the central computer, even the captains. You weren't entirely sure that a doctor's card would be sufficient, but I mean the doctor should. Without much of an alternative, you slide Dr. Door's card onto the slot and hold your breath. Thankfully, you see the door begin to slowly slide open. and with an exhalation of relief, you stand up. Once the door is open enough to allow you through, you make your way inside. This is much tidier. As you'd expected, Captain Gerard's quarters were almost identical to Captain Barnabas, with a few small differences. Look, colony group. Like the lack of any open bottles of liquor. A nice little bonsai tree. In the place of the whiskey bottle you've seen in Captain Mary's room, you see a neatly pruned bonsai. But beyond that, there's nothing obviously distinct. Even the artwork on the wall behind the desk is the same. Well, of course that's the Jupiter colonies, yeah. Well, time to get to work. Let's see if we can find anything useful. On the edge of the desk closest to the door of the quarters, you notice a stack of papers perched precariously, as if they'd been left in a hurry. Based on the same tractor-feed edges you'd seen in the papers in Captain Barnabas' quarters, you'd assume they'd been printed out on board, meaning they were recent documents. The captain must have left in a hurt rush if they didn't lock them away. That or they're nothing important. You hesitate for a moment, considering whether or not you should pick up the files in front of you. Although, in normal circumstances, doing such a thing would result in severe disciplinary action. You reason that there aren't exactly normal circumstances. Anything that could explain what had gone on or help Leah O'Brien had to be investigated. You take the file in hand and read the heavy printed text on the front. JCF Naval Report, JFS O'Brien, Mission Log 132. 0804 2014. No, 0214. Clicking through the report is made difficult by the clumsiness of your spacesuit's glove, but you manage to quickly skim your way through the file's contents. You scan the pages for general day-to-day ship operations to see if you can find anything out of the ordinary. As you work your way thoroughly through the logs, you curious entries amongst the expected information at your attention. April 8th, PC 214. JFS O'Brien's routine patrol path adjusted to investigate erratic Higgs field distortions in outer limits of JCF territory. April 19th, PC 214. Investigation reveals significant residual boson distortion, inconsistent with standard JCF drive outputs. The JFS Gundog dispatched to support with investigation. April 21st, PC 214. Continuous sweep of the area surrounding distortion finds unknown object, not recognized as Jovian, Martian, or Solar Federation. Ensigns Boot and Stett dispatched to retrieve object on boarded at 1927 JST. Standard Jovian time. April 22nd, PC 14. Long-range communication systems remain down. Source not yet identified by Chief Engineer DeForge. O'Brien's moved to rendezvous point to meet JFS Gundog for duty transfer. Duty transfer? April 23rd, PC 214. Rendezvous with JCF Gundog behind schedule. Chief Engineer DeForge investigating unknown object, potential cause of communication failure. Destructive investigation authorized. Yeah, I know the references, like we've got Captain Gerard and Chief Engineer DeForge. The second in command being Jules Bashir. That one's more on the nose. This is not the Doctor. Object potential cause of communication failure. Destructive investigation authorized. Sounds like they've ran into a similar issue as us around the time it took whatever this unknown object is on board. Unknown object, huh? Small bonsai tree. Regular plants are really expensive back on the colonies, but even getting the seedling to start one of these would cost a fortune. People say that the air in the room with a plant and it tastes way better than the normal reprocessed air you get on a ship or colony. There's never been around a plant to try it out, and unfortunately that plant is in a vacuum. Captain's desk, just like Captain Bardemew's, it's got a terminal and what looks like a telephone, probably a hotline to the bridge. I think I'd like Captain Gerard's desk ornament much more than Captain Bardemew's though. Yes, that's much nicer than the whiskey bottle. Check the desk. The terminal's not going to be working, so let's check those drawers. Right drawer working away from top to bottom. Let me guess, they're locked. And surprisingly, they're all locked. I need to find the keys. A bed, a chest of drawers, a bedside table, pretty much all the same things as Captain Barnum's quarters, just tidier. You head into the bedroom, you take the time to look around thoroughly. You hadn't liked doing this in Captain Barnum's quarters, and you didn't like doing it anymore here. Working your way from left to right, you check the large chest of drawers before moving on to the bedside table, and then eventually the area around the bed. Despite a rigorous check of the room, you don't find anything interesting or useful, just personal effects of the captain that you can't help but feel guilty for rifling through. Exact same painting as the one in the Captain Barnabas' quarters. Probably done from a standstill or something, I guess. Captain's bathroom, certainly a lot smarter than the pods that you get in the standard crew quarters. There's an actual toilet and a proper shower unit too. I wonder if when you reach Admiral you get your own bathtub. Although you can't think of anything important that you might find in the captain's bathroom, you feel a compulsion to search it anyway. Despite a thorough examination, the only thing you leave with that you didn't have when you entered is an in-depth knowledge of the captain's choice of bathroom products. Yeah. You were like, hi. Oh, goddammit. Turn a place for thinking about my civil heritage, and now isn't it? This is all that there's nothing, I guess. I could take this back to the Gundog with me, though I don't know how long trees last in space. Although I should probably leave it alone until I know for certain. So there's nothing in the captain's quarters. This is locked. We don't have a key. Great. Wrong way. I'll go backwards. The captain's quarters was a no-go. There's a chance that whoever's in there may not be in a spacesuit, and I open these doors now, risk pulling into a vacuum. There might be something I've missed. Let me access the codes more safely. I have not found anything. I've checked the captain's quarters. Wait, I'm gonna check the captain again. No key cards. Yeah, I think we're gonna have to open the hangar bay. Just up into a room just before the airlock where you've been so used to the huge main shutter and its warnings of the gun dog. Here in O'Brien was nothing but a vast corridor into space. Being able to see the stars like this from this position, you couldn't help but feel uncomfortable. Their light, as gentle as it is, feels like a forced intrusion on this room, somewhere they should never be illuminated. Spend a few more moments gazing out at the airlock before you shake your head to clear your thoughts. If there was any hope for O'Brien's crew, I thought you'd act fast and your stargazing wasn't helping anyone. We're still here, it doesn't look like anyone's a spacewalk of their own unless they used a suit from somewhere else. The panel's still covering the emergency access lever. How could they have opened the door without using it? Interesting question. I figured they've had both doors open at once. They must have known what would happen. Yeah, we've got another option. I was going to the hangar. Hopefully no one's in here that's alive. Because they're, well, if they are, well, we're in a suit. An inactive device, watching pensively as it runs through its startup sequence. Once complete, you hurriedly run through all the necessary options quickly as you can, doing your best to ensure that you use the least amount of battery to power necessary. You quickly unfasten the pouch you've been placing your doctor's keycard and withdraw it and slot it into the device. The same infuriating slowness as all the other doors. Doors of the hangar begin to move. You waste no time in standing up and working your way through a tight gap before the doors are even a quarter of the way open. Noticing the absence of any sign of depressurization, you continue to force your way through the doors. So if anyone was in there, there's no air. As soon as you're through the vault, your way down the stairwell, skipping increasingly more steps at a time as the gravity disappears until you're eventually floating past the entire set of stairs altogether. There's an interesting point though. If the power is all gone, why does the rest of the ship still have gravity? Like, surely if there's no power, there should be no gravity at all. Unless it's like mag plating, I guess. Then you would need power. Then you radio the broadcast with one hand and grabbing the guardrail in front of you with the other, you call out into the dark void of the hangar. Hello, is anyone there? Hello, this is Lieutenant Dodgestar from the JFS Gundog. We've come to help. Hello. You peer into the darkness, trying to see any signs of life. You knew that you'd heard activity in here from the other side of the doors. So where were they? That can be good. Nani? There's a mech in here. You stand frozen in place, unable to maneuver, move your legs, unable to speak as the huge machine that had just pulled itself out of the darkness looms over you. Yeah, big Zen with 4 legs. It's unlike anything you've seen before. No ship, shuttle, armor frame, or worker pod you know of looks the slightest bit like this. As you will yourself to do something, anything The thing in front of you remains totally motionless until suddenly something deep inside you tells you that you've only got moments to react to whatever's going on. Run. Snapping out of your paralysis, you spin around and kick off the guard rail and launch yourself towards the hangar entrance. In seconds, you're already at the first flight of stairs, beginning to feel the pull of O'Brien's gravity. An intense light floods the stairwell. Oh, it fired. You stop and look down as the light fades and see whatever just happened has resulted in a slice through the flooring below. The stairs you just left, and the wall beyond them, leaving warped metal, superheated and glowing on the other side of the cut. I mean, couldn't you just shot a normal gun? Seeing more light flooding into the stairwell from beyond the hangar entrance, you turn back around and sprint up the stairs, scrambling out of the double doors and into the four-side thoroughfare. As you stumble into the corridor, grab your radio. Hansen, get to Juno right now. We need to leave. You yell as you bolt for the central hub. Hansen, do you hear me? We need to get off this ship immediately. Hansen! You scream one last time before sprinting down the remainder of the four-side thoroughfare. As you pass the boundary into the central hub, the corridor beneath you is illuminated with another intense flash of light. Cinema would be better. The corridor behind you is illuminated with another intense flashing of light. You don't turn around, instead continuing its speed towards the airlock where the Juno had been left. Hansen, I'm serious. We need to leave now before the ship's torn to pieces. Get off the bridge and get down here. With no response from Hansen, your mind races. You're doing your best to formulate a plan. When you look back at the four-side thoroughfare and see it scorched with huge cuts and runs from flooring to ceiling, liquefied metal of the ship's structure framing their paths. Ah, damn it. Same instinct that saved you in the hangar kicks in, and you turn towards the airlock, racing towards the open entrance and the stars you can see in the distance. You head towards the open cockpit of the armor frame. You try and remember the startup sequence that will let you pilot out of here. You begin the climbing of the Juno's chest, and as you reach the top, you look inside to see the pilot seat empty. God damn it, Cruz. Where are you? Looking back towards the entrance of the airlock and seeing no one in the distance, you know you have no choice to make. You cry in frustration, slamming your fist onto the cockpit hatch. Despite every instinct you have screaming at you to run, you know you can't just abandon Hansen. Regardless of his personality, he's still a crewmate. Your eyes fix on the corridor leading into the airlock. As you wait for him to appear, you know he hadn't received your radio signal, but he must have seen what was happening. The ship from the bridge. Come on, come on, come on, come on. You mutter, your right leg beginning to twitch it with anticipation. One more blast and probably dead. As a beam of energy tears through the airlock floor and ceiling, you barely react. You've made your decision, and you're going to wait for Hansen until the last possible second. Cruz, you asshole, you better get yourself into this Juno right now, or I swear to God, You'll what, sir? Leave your ass. At the entrance to the room containing the airlock, you see Hansen, black box under one arm, running at full speed towards you. I'm here now. Guess it's a shame I won't see what that discipline... I'm here now. Guess it's a shame I won't see what discipline you had planned out for me. Ensign, shut up and get us out of here. Whatever you say, sir. In one swift motion, Hansen pulls himself up to the cockpit entrance and disappears inside. As soon as he's in, you enter after him and quickly begin to buckle yourself into the passenger seat. You could have left him here. In just a few seconds, Hansen pulls a lever that seals the Juno's cockpit and works his way through the entire startup sequence. Even before the main monitor is active, he pulls back on the flight sticks, and you feel the rumble of the Juno's engines moving the armor frame away from the ship. The main view screen switches on, showing you the brine shrinking into the distance. What did you do? 1 minute I'm pulling at the black box, and the next I can see is a light show going on outside, and some kind of laser beam nearly cuts me in half. I didn't do anything. There was something in the hangar, and it went off. It was tearing the whole ship apart from the inside. So you tripped the AF's weapon system or something? Can't let you anywhere near those things without you causing problems. You're about to continue your protest at Hansen when you see a column of light penetrate the surface of their brain. What the That's it. It's got to be some sort of prototype AF or something. I've never seen a weapon like that. Tore through their brains whole like it's paper. What the hell kind of weapon is that? No idea. Well, we need to get back to the gun dog right now. What? And leave that thing out here? Whatever that thing is, it just shredded the O'Brien from the inside out with a weapon we've ever encountered before. Our comms are out, and if it takes us down and gets the drop in the gun dog, they'll be sunk in seconds. Hansen looks from you, the screen showing the strange craft atop the O'Brien. Colin, after a moment of deliberation, turns the Juno towards the gun dog and sets off at maximum thrust. Yeah. If we can warn them, maybe Dylan can get on it in the long range systems and take it down with the cannons. Before it... Damn it. You grip tightly onto your seat as Hansen struggles to reorientate the armor frame. Something had just struck you hard. As the ensign regains control of the Juno, you see the enemy machine disappearing into the distance from the main monitor. That thing just slammed into us and took off like nothing happened. The hell is it? It's heading straight for the gun dog. Go now. What do you think I'm doing? Hansen barks as he resumes maximum thrust, causing your machine to judder and shake. As the enemy shrinks into distance on the Juno's monitor, Hansen doesn't let up in the speed, maintaining the high level of acceleration. We need hopefully the gun dog, if we can get back and warn them, they can launch the other AF as well as use the main cannons. The tremors you feel in the cockpit grow more intense the faster the armor frame moves. Grabbing onto the straps holding you in place, with both hands you pass your eyes over the readouts on the cockpit's various dials and sub-monitors. Alert, alert, alert. Most of them are all flashing warnings or alerts. The needles on the majority of the gauges deep in the red. Oh, he's going Char Aznavour on this shit. Crews, if you keep this up, the Juno's going to fall apart. Slow it down. Hansen smirks at your order, scoffing as he somehow finds more acceleration than increases the vibrations to the point that you feel like they'll shake you to pieces at any moment now. Cool, he is Char Aznavour pulling this. He's going red comet. Push it past the limit. This is my Juno, Lieutenant. Don't tell me how to treat her. She's not as delicate as she looks. And we're gonna need all she's got to get back to the gun dog before that thing. Bruce, if we get back and we're dead, yeah, you can write me up on the captain when that happens. You groan and close your eyes, trying to ignore the beeping that started and the high-pitched whine you hear coming from the back of the cockpit. You're aware of every second that passes as the two of you race back to the gun dog. Didn't it take us half an hour to get here? The tension worsening by the near constant screaming of the warning systems. Hansen in control, all you can do is hope that you get back in time before the gun dog can be cut to pieces by that weapon you've seen make short work of their brain. You've lost track of how long you've been pursuing the enemy, when suddenly some garbled static bursts from the speakers, and a shrill and panicked voice screeches at you. Ah, it's Vanessa. I repeat, this Lieutenant Lord of the GSF gun dog. We're under attack by an unknown enemy. The GSF ship in range. You respond. This is Lieutenant. Lord, this is Gun Dog 1, approaching the gun dog at... Cruz, where have you been? Get back to the ship right now. We're under fire from something. Hansen rolls his eyes as he's cut off by Vanessa's demand. Roger that, ma'am. Gun Dog 1 returning. Now? Shaking his head rather than following up with an answer, Hansen quickly flicks a few switches, and you see the readout on some monitor switch. Display information about the armor frame's weapon systems. Hey, gun dog! Oh god, he's firing defense guns. As he does this, you turn your attention to the main monitor. In the distance, you can see small lights flickering in and out. Turning a point in space, the on-screen readouts inform you it's the gun dog. In a gunfight. The Juno approaching the ship at speed, you can see that lights are actually of rounds being rapidly fired from the Gundog's point defense system, a collection of rotary cannons mounted on turrets along the ship's exterior. So it got too close for the main cannons then, huh? You can tell from their short bursts and the erratic shifts in the direction they're firing that the machine you ran into on the brine is moving both quickly and unpredictably. The automated cannons aren't able to keep up. Lord, this is Gundog 1. We're back at... Bruce, what the hell is this thing? How would I know? Useless. You heard Hansen mutter something under his breath, too quietly for the communications system to pick up. Just destroy it. We've already taken some heavy hits to the port hull. Yeah, I get it. Just tell me what... Just tell him D's to watch the anti-air. As the Juno closes in, the Gundog, you watch the trajectory. Oh god, that thing is weird. You fire from the point defense system, knowing that would indicate where the enemy's machine was rather than where it is. Let's just admire this animation for a second. It comes around, and then this freaky thing. Big Zam with 4 legs. Based on the speed at which it's moving, you know that if you're going to have a chance of taking this thing down, you'll need to figure out a way to get ahead of it. You're about to make this observation to Hansen, but you see a deep focus on his face, his eyes tracing the path the enemy moves along, as if it weaves around the barrage coming from the ship. A sudden flurry of motion on the controls, Hansen adjusts the armor frame's trajectory, sending it soaring uncomfortably close to the Gundog's bridge, just in time to intercept the strange craft as it rises from the far side of the ship. Okay. He's a good pilot. We're using the same of his maneuvers. Amateur! Hansen yells. Definitely a good thing we waited for him, because I feel like if I had to do this as someone who's never actually flown in combat, that might have gone badly. Also, he'd probably be dead by now. Slamming down the pedals, Hansen positions the Juno over the top of the enemy, and you hear a heavy click as he pulls the trigger on the right flight stick. Too easy! Missiles away! As the rounds from the machine gun slam into the target, Hansen presses down on a button on the left flight stick, sending a volley of missiles roaring away from the Juno's shoulder pod and directly into the enemy, engulfing it in an explosion. Doesn't matter how powerful the machine is if the pilot's no good. Nani? So, Hansen, what was that about? I think it has better armor than we do. As the smoke clears, staring back at you is the machine that you'd just seen hit by a swarm of missiles, each one individually powerful enough to destroy another armored frame. Instead of being totally destroyed, the craft looks completely fine. You don't even see a hint of scorch marks on its armor. What is this thing made of? Gundarium. Maybe. Hansen snarls, pulling the trigger on the right flight stick again, this time erupting an entire magazine, emptying into the target. As if totally indifferent to Hansen's assault, the craft turns to face you and sees an increasingly bright light begin to build in front of you, with sparks and crackles of electricity running along its nearby surfaces. He's charging his laser. Move! Don't tell me how to pilot! Hansen yells back at you as he navigates the Juno away from the beam that tears through the space you just occupied. Only seconds after what felt like a moment of triumph, the tables had been so thoroughly turned, and you find yourself being slammed from side to side as Hansen escapes a rapid series of maneuvers in an attempt to escape the enemy's pursuit. Huge beams of energy blast through the space around you. Every few seconds, the Juno dives, climbs, rolls, and banks. As he waves to through the hail of bullets coming from the gun dog's own defense systems and the attacks from the enemy machines. Hansen's breathing grows faster and faster. Hansen, we can't outrun it. We're going to need to figure something out. His eyes flicking rapidly back and forth from monitor to gauge, his hands twitching quickly, sending the Juno darting from place to place. I mean, someone send out Haru and her and their... Someone send out Haru and their AF. Give us the help. Darting from place to place, Hansen doesn't seem to notice you at all. Hansen! Hansen! What? This isn't working. We need to do something. Don't tell me how to pilot. Stow it. You can't keep this up forever. We need to figure something out. As you yell at Hansen, you get thrown into the side of the cockpit by a high-speed turn that he pulls off just as a huge beam passes overhead, illuminating the cockpit as the brightness fills the monitors. Come on then, sir. What do you have in mind? We should... Use Dalton's creation. You rack your brain to come up with something, a way to stop his impervious enemy. You just watched it take a direct hit from frame-bursting missiles and come away without scratch. It didn't harm it, and nothing else the Juno wielded to be able to stop it. Your thoughts race as you try to come up with a solution. How do you destroy the invulnerable? That's it! What? If the missiles won't take that thing down, nothing else we've got is going to be able to destroy it. Right. Great. So what, Lieutenant? You think we're just surrender now and destroy us? That's not what I mean. If we can't destroy it, then we need to change tactics. If we can try to disable it. Hansen glances across you with a sneer, really about to criticize your idea, but before he can respond, his attention is taken up by another blast from the enemy's energy weapon, which he evades at the very last moment. Dalton's been working on a compound to steal hull breaches. And has been turning it into an ammunition for the Juno's machine gun, too. If it works, we can trap this thing. That stuff's made set hard enough to act as a new hull. There's no way it could escape. Hansen scoffs at you despite being in the middle of carrying out a maneuver involving suddenly braking, dropping downward through space, and letting the enemy machine fly overhead so that he can fire another volley of machine gun rounds at its underside. If it works, Lieutenant, what if it doesn't? Are you going to trust that little dork with our lives? Have you got a better idea, Ensign? That's what I thought. As Juno continues to shake from strain, his engines are under, and the sudden spins and turns Hansen is making it perform, you manage to lean forward towards the communication system and press down on the button that allows you to broadcast. Gundog, this is Gundog 1. Patch me through to Cadet Garage. Don't touch my control. Shut up, Hansen. I repeat, Gundog, this is Gundog 1. Patch me through to Cadet. What do you want, Dodgestar? We're just about to send... We're just about to send Rummy out. But the launch pads are damaged. They're coming out of the main hangar door. Deal with that thing for a few more minutes. Nothing we've got on the Junos are going to stop it, Lord. Just put me through to Dalton. He's busy getting Hara's AF out there. I'm in charge of this operation, Dodgestar, so don't go distracting my... Lord, shut up. Put me through to Dalton right now. Lieutenant, we're doing our best to get Haru out there. We just need a... Dalton, forget about Haru. Did you manage to take any more of your sealant ammunition? Or make any more? Huh? Oh yeah, I managed to make enough for 2 whole magazines, but... Send it out now. But, Lieutenant, it's not tested. Now, Dalton. Yes, sir. The cockpit shudders as the armor frame breaks suddenly, following a tight corner that takes it around the rear of the Gundog, and now to sight of the attacker. Although you're slammed backwards, Hansen remains focused on unleashing a barrage of machine gun fire, just as the enemy soars past you. As you recover, you glare at Hansen. Was that necessary? Never waste ammo, Dodgestar. Before the other craft can respond, Hansen quickly maneuvers away, and you see the empty magazine eject from the Juno's machine gun. Grand, send it the ammo on supply launch. Heading 0 Mark 30. Full thrust. Ah, yes, sir. This is a 0 Mark 30. Launch in 4 minutes. Ugh, get it done in 2, kid. Yes, sir. With the enemy back in pursuit, Hansen brings the Juno up for full thrust. As he navigates the armor frame of the gun dog location, I'm not going to bet you I'm now in the middle of combat. Take that later. Location he knows is the most point defense coverage. Wait. Hansen brings the Juno up to full thrust as he navigates the armor frame above the gun dog into a location he knows the most point defense coverage. The pressure from the sudden acceleration pins you against your seat. When you manage to turn to look at Hansen, the mocking he'd just given Dalton at the forefront of his mind despite everything. He watches Hansen's eyes flick rapidly to different screens and routines within the cockpit, with hands moving almost too fast to perceive as he feathers the flight sticks to simultaneously evade and fire from the gun dog. Simultaneously evade the fire from the gun dog in attacking craft. You return to get hit with your own point defense guns. No! You turn back to focus on the main monitor and see the enemy machine heading straight towards you. A charge that Hansen evades with faint at the last possible moment. You sigh, thinking it probably wouldn't be a good time to distract the pilot. As the attacking craft speeds away into the distance before stopping suddenly, turning it on its axis to head back towards the gun dog, Hansen turns to Juno and speeds towards the front of the ship. Moving to the location, he instructed Dalton to send ammunition. The main monitor now focused on the open main hangar door. You can see Dalton, just as ordered, sending a supply launch, rocketing towards you. The launch, little more than a large sled with a series of thrusters attached, speeds through the void towards you, and in a smooth motion, Hansen moves to meet it. This is very much like the Archangel sending it the launch striker pack. Send it at the launcher striker pack. Deftly manipulates the armor frame's hands to grab the machine gun magazine tethered to it without needing to stop. Pulling back just in time to evade another blast from the enemy cannon, Hansen slams the flight sticks forward, sending the armor frame tearing through space and towards the opponent. This better work, Dodgestar. Before the craft can evade, Hansen brings machine gun to bear on it and holds in the trigger, the rounds all meeting their mark. Aha! As the shots land, the enemy machine is engulfed in a sudden expanding mass that billows outwards from the point of impact and spreads all over its surface. Within seconds, the attacker is encased in the thick coating of Dalton's compound, which sets as suddenly as it expanded, leaving the craft's long appendages visibly struggling against the material's restraining properties. Hey, that stuff's not bad. You've done good work. But we're not done yet. Hold on, Lieutenant. Despite being almost entirely encompassed in the sealant, your foe will still heading right at you. Where the hell do you think you're going? As he yells, sending the Juno straight towards the enemy. You're not going anywhere. With an impact that reverberates violently through the cockpit, the armored frame slams into the oncoming craft. Go to hell! Melee! Knife him! You watch with a rapid sequence of button presses on the right flight stick. Hansen commands the Juno to let go of its machine gun and draw its combat knife. The whole armored frame shakes with each impact as Hansen drives the knife over and over into one of the small portions of exposed armor, showing amongst the mass of sealant. Your world becomes a cacophony of noise as the clash of the knife and the armor surface of the enemy machine, the screams of the Juno's engines as they struggle to counteract the other craft's thrust, and the various alarms and warnings all fill the cockpit. Go down. You... hell. Suddenly, you're forced back into your seat by a rush of acceleration. Hansen, what's going on? You just about managed to turn your head against the force of the thrust to see Hansen shunting the flight sticks back and forth and stomping on the pedals. Its engines must have cut out, but the controls have gone on. Wait, its engines must have cut out, but the controls have gone on ours. I can't stop them. As Hansen continues to struggle with the controls, Vanessa screeches at you over the radio, sounding more panicked than ever. Cruz, you're headed straight for the hangar. Change course. Cruz! I'm trying! Cruz, you're going to... Oh, we just slammed at the hangar. Shit. Savior, return from the O'Brien. April 23rd, planetary calendar 214. Despite Ensign Cruz gaining an advantage against the unknown enemy, craft that had attacked the JCF Gundog, mechanical failure in the engine of the Juno 3 resulted in both the unidentified machine and the armor frame crashing into the ship's hangar. Lieutenant Dodgestar and Ensign Cruz were both quickly extracted from the armored frame and sent to the ship's sickbay. Upon being cleared for duty, Lieutenant Dodgestar is ordered to the hangar to help secure the enemy craft. Outer Jovian space, the hangar of the Jovian patrol ship JFS Gundog. So we captured it? Yeah, it looks like it. Damn! Stretch your neck from side to side and roll your shoulders as you wait for the captain's judgment. Dr. Rosarium had done his best for the neck injury you'd acquired during Hansen's less than textbook landing, but the captain had been insistent that her sole security officer return to duty immediately. Yay. She's like, we need at least someone competent on this ship. As a result, after a cursory once-over, the doctor had given you an anti-inflammatory injection on one side of your neck and an injection of painkillers on the other before sending you on your way. Cool, my neck is just barely holding together. This had left your neck numb and you with the vague sensation that your head could become detached at any moment. But at least you were up and about, right? Surveying the hangar, you know you should be thankful for this miracle. Both Hansen's Juno and the craft it had been fighting had entered the hangar at full thrust. If Dalton hadn't thought quickly and activated every single piece of arrestor gear available, two machines would have torn straight through into the belly of the Gundog. Good thinking, Dalton. On top of that, they'd slammed into the storage containers that held the tank, and keeping the experimental high-density foam, causing it to rupture and coat the attacker in substance and adhere it to the hangar floor. Oh, so we ain't going anywhere. With the machine stuck in place, it didn't take long for the Juno's engines to burn out as it pushed against the immovable object. You make a mental note to give Dalton your thanks later. Not only had the rounds loaded, the substance worked perfectly, it had saved you, Hansen, and possibly the entire ship. The cadet needs to be now a commissioned officer, and also a little medal. What this did mean, though, was that the mysterious assailant, which had torn the O'Brien to pieces and nearly done the same thing to the Gundog, was stuck, irremovably, for the time being, right in the middle of the hangar. It had shown no activity since it went dead just outside the Gundog. But having one of those eyes, like cameras exposed, didn't leave you... Is the craft secured, Lieutenant? Oh, yes, ma'am. To be honest, Cadet Grange's foam has done most of the work for us. With the amount of that stuff it's covered with, I don't see it making a move anytime soon. Even the tethers we used aren't really necessary. When we get back to Europa Colony, it'll probably be easier to remove the entire hangar block to get this thing rather than carve it out. Is that so? Yes, ma'am. You wait for a moment. The captain allows your response to her rhetorical question to hang in the air. As far as capturing enemy technology goes, this could have certainly gone more smoothly. Understatement. You feel a retort forming about how indestructible enemies with never-before-seen weapons bursting out of allied ships isn't something that you get trained for as a security officer, but swallow it. It's been a long day, and it seems to only be getting longer. Best to save your energy for something worthwhile. Regardless, you've all done good work today. Lieutenant Dodgestar, Cadet Garage. Oh, ma'am, yes, thank you. Dalton, who had been lurking at your side like a nervous shadow the entire time, squeaks. The unexpected compliment taking him completely by surprise. Head pats. Good kid. Good kid. I mean, that is, if the container hadn't been in that area, then you wouldn't have lost so much hangar space. I'm sorry that... You swiftly but gently elbow the cadet in his side. Which is, thank you, ma'am. Very good, cadet. That a nice smile. Well then. Captain once again leaves the sentence to trail off, half-formed. Whereas this manner of speech had previously left you disconcerted with its indication that there was something the captain was holding back, you found yourself no longer bothered by it. Whether it's because you were used to it or simply too tired to be perturbed was a matter you hadn't quite decided on. Dalton, on the other hand, was still clearly terrified by the concept of being in such close proximity to the captain, to the point where his nervousness was palpable. If it wasn't for the rustling of his jumpsuit caused by his nervous fidgeting, you felt there was a good chance you'd be able to hear his heartbeat racing. As the chief, I finished my assessment of the craft, Captain. With an amount of grace that surprises you, the chief, having appeared from underneath the catwalk, grabs onto the handrail and effortlessly redirects momentum, planting her feet firmly on the walkway you're all stood on. So she just kind of went up and came from below this railing up and over and landed here. Nice. Thank you, Chief Cathy's. And your assessment? Hard to say. Never seen anything like it. General structure is totally different from the human construction you'd see on AF. Whatever materials this thing is made of don't line up with what we see on Martian or Terran machines. Even the samples of that titanium they make on Lunar. Even samples of that titanium they make on Lunar didn't have any kind of durability that this thing showed. Lunar titanium, huh? I wonder where I've heard that before. Lunar titanium. It has another name that we all know well. Gundarium. Apparently this is even stronger. Based on the combat data from cruises AF, even that have been torn apart, plus no indication of a traditional drive system, which... Your security assessment, Chief Cathy's? You stiffen as a wave of realization hits you, causing a painful twingle in your neck. As soon as you got out of the sickbay, Captain had ordered you to secure the craft. In your current state, still running on leftover adrenaline and recently dosed up on medication, you would follow that order to the letter, completely forgetting about assessing any potential risks. Right. Yes, Captain. There's no signs to indicate that this craft is active anymore. No measurable electronic activity, no readings to suggest an active reactor. Looks like the whole thing has been totally shut down. The only reading that showed anything was a boson count. It's surrounded by a massive amount of residual distortion. Minovsky particles. No idea why though. You need a whole engine to put out that amount of the amount I'm registering around it. As far as I can tell, Captain, whatever this thing might be, it's not doing anything anytime soon. I see, and the pilot? If there's anyone in there, they aren't getting out. I've checked all over the visible portion of the structure, and there's no trace of a cockpit hatch or entry panel. With how strong Cadet Grange's compound is, there's no way they'll be able to break through. You must have gone pretty heavy on the cyanoacrylates, huh, Cadet? The chief asked with a wink. She's proud of him. She's so proud. Yes, ma'am. So sorry, ma'am. It's a good thing, Cadet. If you hadn't, this thing might have been able to tear its way out and continue its rampage around the ships and sites. Best way I could put it, Captain, I hope they've got enough oxygen and emergency rations in there to last them until we get back to Europa, because we aren't getting them out. And you, Lieutenant. You'd hope that the chief's explanation would suffice, but the captain had turned her attention to you expectantly. I think the Chief Cathy's has just about covered it, Captain. I didn't see anything that looked like a hatch when we were securing it, but I don't think anyone's getting out of there. I see. Nothing to add? You spent a brief moment trying to come up with something other than comment you had to what she said, but feeling another twinkle in your neck, layer over the already present exhaustion, you realize you simply don't have the energy. No, ma'am. Well, that makes life easier. Swift classes weren't designed with brakes. Captain takes a moment to move to the railings and places her hands onto them. Resting what little of her weight remains, this low gravity on the support, was also drumming her fingers against them. As you watch Captain Bartholomew's, you see a brief glimmer of a sparkle in her eyes. A slight change transforming her in front of you from constantly disinterested Captain you knew to a canny, analytical version of herself. She turns back to face you, pivoting on one hand she keeps on the railing. In that case, our priority is getting this back to Europa colony where it can be investigated properly. The less time we have on this on board, the less risk it poses to us. Chief Cathy's, I want those engines online now. Cadet Garage, I want Ensign Cruz's Juno fully operational and combat ready. If this decides to reactivate, I want to be ready for it. Lieutenant Dodgestar, I want you on active patrol until Ensign Cruz is out of sickbay. You, Romney, and Cruz will be carrying out patrols around the clock until we dock at Europa. This thing has shown itself to be full of surprises. Just because we can't see a way for the pilot to get out doesn't mean there isn't one. Carry out a normal patrol and then report back to me. I'll be in my quarters, writing this up. Understood? Three of you snap to attention and throw a salute in perfect synchronization. Even the chronically fidgety Dalton maintains a perfectly still, professional countenance. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Very good. Dismissed. With a shove against the railings, the captain launches himself towards the hangar entrance, and the three of you drop your stiff postures as soon as she's out of sight. Hell of a day, huh, Lieutenant? You roll your shoulders once again, trying to get rid of the stiffness that's working its way back into your neck. And that's putting it mildly. As you think back over the day, it feels like it's been a week long. Everything that's happened, it feels like you hadn't slept for that long either. You're not wrong, Chief. As you look back to the enemy craft, you can't help but feel like its exposed camera lens is pointing straight at you. Or looking. Swallowing nervously, you turn away. The unwavering mechanical glare fills you with a sense of dread. So what do you think? Is it really out of action? Like I told the captain, as far as I can tell, this thing isn't going anywhere soon. Still, doesn't mean that I want to hang around with it glued to the inside of my hangar. The sooner we get back to Europa, the better. To do that, and to get the gun dog's engines up and running. So, I'm going to head back to the engine room. We've all got jobs to do. No time to stand around chatting if you want to get our unexpected passenger back to Europa colony. Cadet? Chief? Main thruster module and cruiser's Juno is completely fried. Don't bother trying to salvage it. It's going to need a wholesale replacement. Understood? Yes, Chief. Alright then. Both of you, get to it. With that, the Chief launches herself off nearby railings and towards the hangar entrance. Much like you had with the captain earlier, you watch as she disappears, relaxing slightly when she's out of sight. As you look around your surroundings, you see that Dalton has already made his way towards Hans's Juno, leaving you alone. You kick off the catwalk and begin to gently drift towards the hangar exit, taking one last look back at the hangar before you leave. Aside from the sound of Dalton's exploratory tinkering on Hans's Juno in the background, a hum variation of air handling systems in the hangar was effectively silent. This made the sight of the previously hostile machine lifelessly positioned right in the middle, but all the stranger. Still, Chief seemed adamant that there was no chance it was going to go anywhere, and looking at it now, you had no reason not to believe her. Time for patrolling then. Wow. Save. Chapter 7. By everything, both Junos are actually in pretty good condition, ignoring the burned out engines and Hansons, at least. Thanks to Dalton triggering the arrestor gear at the right time, Hanson's Juno was caught before it could get covered in the foam. Also looks still to be in working order. It's going to be tricky to use it for anything considering how full the hangar is though. The hatch below the armor frame's damaged in the attacks. If either of them need to leave the hangar, they're going to need to go through the main door. Hopefully we don't need any more action for the rest of this mission. Grip the railings and lean forward, shifting yourself onto a position where you can view as much of the machine and the surrounding mass of rock solid foam as possible. Just like she said, no signs of activity, no signs of life. The grip tightens as you remember your encounter with it. Even though you'd not been the one piloting, being there whilst Hansen had fought tooth and nail just to stay alive and showing you how dangerous it was, how powerful. If it hadn't been for Dalton's foam rounds, how much longer would Hansen have been able to hold out? The fact that it had been almost unstoppable until suddenly deactivating had started to nag at you as you stared at it. Had it really been stopped, or was there something else going on? Yeah, that's just... engineering and fire control, huh? Before you even head into the mess hall, the aroma of machine-made coffee and pancakes waft down the Forsyth thoroughfare, and your stomach growls audibly. You hadn't realized how hungry you were until now, but with the scent of rich food in the air, your body begins to let you know in no uncertain terms that you are ravenous. Hey Maru. Hey Rummy. And you step inside and see Ensign Rummy, sitting back lazily in their chair, slowly pecking their way through a stack of syrup-covered pancakes, fork in one hand, cup of coffee in the other. They acknowledge you by looking over the doorway and raising their cup of coffee slightly before returning to their meal. Before you can see anything, your stomach growls loudly again. A smirk appears on the pilot's face briefly, but is quickly dismissed as they go to take another mouthful of pancake. As they carry on eating, you decide to leave them to it for the time being and head to the room to take a look at the available options. Approaching the machine, you look over the list of menu options. You've been surprised when you first got on board that the choice was just as extensive as the machines on the larger ships. You're stationed on. The problem with this was that all the choices made it difficult to decide on what you wanted to eat. You spend a minute or two going back and forth over the various menu options before narrowing it down to a hamburger, tacos, pancakes. Pancake. Yeah. You select the option that will give you an identical stack of pancakes to the one Haru is eating, and the machine begins to make a series of loud mechanical noises. After a few moments, the hatch opens and a plate with a steaming stack of pancakes covered in syrup slides out. You take the plate from the machine and head to the table to sit down. You assume that Haru's silence means they're not interested in conversation and decide to respect that by not saying anything. As you begin cutting into the first pancake, you notice Haru look across to you after taking the slow, leisurely sip of coffee. Hey, Lieutenant. You're just taking your first mouthful of it as the ensign points their fork at you. Solid choice. You nod, and they do the same before returning to their own half-eaten stack. Due to your hunger, you consume the pancakes voraciously, with it only taking a few minutes to consume an entire stack. You notice that although you'd managed to wolf down the whole plate full, Haru had barely made any progress on their remaining half a stack. Something I've started to notice and picking up on is Haru gets referred to as them and their. It was like I've stumbled and called them she before, but it definitely seems to be they them. They were very androgynous. That makes sense. Being a little bit self-aware of your gluttony, you stand up quickly and return to the plate of the meal vendor. As the plate is taken back to the machines, you exhale deeply. A feeling of contentness and satisfaction spread through you, taking the edge off your exhaustion. Look at the vending machine and consider the available snacks. The thought of chocolate bars seemed appealing, and you take your ID card out of your pocket, slide it into the machine's parts lock, and your selection. And the call spins slowly, and your bar is eventually ejected, landing at the bottom of the machine. The exit hatch. Silent voice. Get this for later. Yeah, have a conversation. Go up a seat next to the pilot, who gives you a flicker of recognition before continuing to slowly pick up their pancakes. Ensign Remy, how you doing? Probably better than you after that landing, Dodgestar. Doesn't think I'd be seeing you out of the stick base so soon. Yeah, well, I was lucky that. So is Hansen out too? Oh no, he's still being seen by the doctor. When I left, he was taking him into the surgery wing. Something about artificial ossification? Damn. I managed to go and break something that seriously whilst you're up and about without a scratch. Well, next time you see him, make sure you give him the thanks he deserves for getting you out of that situation alive. If it wasn't for his piloting, this whole ship would be space dust right now. Oh, agreed, actually. You roll your eyes across your arms. You know they're not wrong. But the thought of actively thanking Hansen for something? Yeah, I'll let him know. Returns their attention to their pancakes, continuing the meal, only interrupting it with an occasional sip of coffee. Sit there for a little bit. As the silence drags on, you decide you've probably got as much conversation out of Haru as you're going to. You push your chair back and stand up. As you go to walk away, you hear the sound of Haru's chair. It scoots along the floor, causing you to turn back. I'm serious, Lieutenant. Make sure you tell him. You look at Haru for a moment, and then mentally shrug as you turn away again. I heard you the first time, Manson. Don't worry. Damn. Oh, my voice is getting tired, so I might wrap it up here. Slightly earlier than I normally would wrap it up, but Game has a lot of talking, reading and dialogue. Ah. Oh, it's such a well-written story. There's so much detail and thought put into it. Really great. But I'm killing my voice. I definitely talk way more than I normally do. It's like constant because you're reading dialogue and attempting to do voices. But yes, great. I wonder how much longer this game is. Because in my head, okay, we're heading back to Juno now. Heading back to Europa. So basically, the chief has to get the engines online, and I have a feeling that whoever's in that damn machine might get out somehow. I have a feeling. But that's something we will get to later. Oop. Oh, there we go. That was weird. Didn't play the animation. It's certainly a great game. Looking forward. Yeah. Forward to see what the rest of the story goes. But I think I will wrap it up here. Rest my voice a bit. And then what's next stream? Oh yeah, Thursday. Next stream planned for Thursday. Of course, any changes schedule be on socials and Discord. Thursday, I'm gonna work on the Daisy Ogre, and then Thursday evening I'll put a new schedule for the weekend and next week. So as it stands, it looks like I'll probably be streaming possibly Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Might be nice. I don't know, just like seeing the achievement is like 40% of players have returned from the O'Brien. Alright, I should bother her right today. I don't know. Maybe not. Ugh. Rest my voice, get some food. And do some mercenary stuff tomorrow. And then work on Daisy Ogre on Thursday. Apparently I have 17 out of 30 achievements for this game. Honestly, most of them are, you know, secret achievements. 10 hidden achievements, 3 are known. 1 for finishing the game, and 2 are like 20 ones. I'm wondering, let's see chapters. We'll see where the story goes next. I'm intrigued. There's lots to do. Alright, yeah, I could wrap it up here. Skip on the raid for the day, maybe. Think what I'm going to do for dinner. Anyway. Thank you all for watching. This is a fun retro game. I kind of shouldn't have left a massive gap between the first stream and the second stream, but I'm definitely going to make sure I put it on the schedule for next week so I don't like have as big a gap. Oh, I'm just thinking other things for next week. There's obviously XCOM, obviously working the Daisy Ogre, depending if not we finish it Thursday. Probably some Sword and Soul, but you know what's coming out on Thursday? Well, releasing on Thursday, but obviously I probably won't stream it on Thursday. Xenoblade Chronicles X, the Definitive Edition, because that's getting the Switch port. I never played the original one on the Wii U, so I want to play that. Because like, I want to play a cool sci-fi game that has robots in it. That's the thing. That's always the thing. There's so many things I want to do, but never enough time to do them all. We shall see at the schedule, but for now, they'll stream on Thursday, and I'll figure out the rest from there. Anyway, I'm gonna head off. Have an awesome day, have an awesome week, and I'll see you around the cosmos. Dodgestar, sign off.